times. So Draymond would constantly get open looks at the top of the key, and he was knocking him down. He was actually making plays. I don't know what happened. If it's the Jordan Poole factor where you have another offensive threat now, or Andrew Wiggins taking a bunch of shots, and Draymond just doesn't feel like he has the right to take shots with all these skilled playmakers around him, or he's just forgotten that he's actually a great basketball player. Like that's what it seems like. And I feel like that's what you were almost getting as he's just forgotten how skilled he is and is just trying to be an instigator now. And it's just not that's just not who he is. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on with him. He's falling apart mentally, it looks like, right in front of our eyes.
So Boston takes a 2-1 lead last night on Golden State. Pretty good series. We're getting good games. We're not getting great finishes. You're getting relatively good games. You're just not that there's something happening in the third and fourth quarter. Again, game one, it was the big fourth quarter from the Celtics that turned into the win. Game two was the big third quarter from Golden State. Last night, it was a dud of a fourth quarter for Golden State, who had cut it to within 4 and not able to close out and make it an interesting game down the stretch. So we will continue on with that series. Coming up later today, Patrick, or I really should look and see the start time because it's a shotgun start. The Live Golf Tour officially starts today. And yesterday, more potential defections from the PGA. Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau, the latest now that are linked to being somehow a part of the Live Golf Invitational Series. And we'll see what happens there. Multiple reports, nothing necessarily coming out from Bryson's agent or Patrick Reed confirming anything, or at least nothing that I saw that was legitimately confirmed. Just sources and reports throughout the day that Bryson and Patrick Reed will be playing in the next event, not in this one, but they will be playing in the next event at the end of this month, June 30th through July 2nd. That'll be in Portland, Oregon. It'll be at a course called Pumpkin Ridge out there. But interesting as we continue to see the Live Golf Tour officially get going this morning or here in just a few hours over in London. And now I don't know. I had this discussion yesterday with multiple people as to what it means for the PGA and where everything goes. And I don't know. The fans will the fans enjoy it? Will the fans the Live Golf Tour doesn't have a television deal. You have to go watch it via YouTube to this week or via the Live Golf Tour website. There is no such television deal. So, like, if you're thinking about watching this thing this week, I think you got to go into YouTube.com, not YouTube
9
TV.
a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
I am
shotgun start
right.
Eastern time. Yeah.
We'll just sit right here in studio and we'll pull it up on our computers.
Hanging here.
Interrupt Pearson's show for live breaking action of the Live Golf Tour. But I I think it's good for fans. I don't really know if it affects fans that much. Like I don't know what effect it'll have on fans in watching tournaments to begin with.
I don't I don't know what effect it has on anybody really, because like I don't know what the long term. Obviously, people are gonna not have the energy to care and cancel Justin Johnson and be mad about this every single week. They'll run out of energy. You can only care about so many things. So I think they'll just continue on. But is this gonna change the PGA Tour in the sense that like do are Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy? I heard on the way in, Amy Lawrence was playing audio of them speaking out, and I saw the video of Justin Thomas. Like, are they going to get more sponsorship deals for being loyal? Like, are they going to be? Is it going to help them the loyalty to the PGA Tour, and do people look at them better? And I just don't know. Like, it seems like a big nothing, and ultimately, the live guys are going to be rich, and there's just going to be two golf leagues.
It's like you said. It's interesting because I've heard Terry and Tommy and Jay in the afternoon compare it to the USFL back in the 80s where you had the separate football league that ended up folding and they were hoping to merge. You had different basketball organizations at any point. I don't know if this is like that. And I'm with you. The sustainability people were asking yesterday because people really don't know where the money is coming from and what the overall goal of the Saudis are here in terms of like, is it just
Cleaning their reputation.
is it just I mean, and it's funny we never got into it yesterday, but if you didn't see it on the internet, I guess what was it? Tuesday night, Patrick, is when the picture of Phil Mickelson came
Yeah.
out. The one of he and Greg Norman together is absolutely terrifying. though. Have you seen the one of he and Greg Norman?
No, I'm
It
looking it up right now.
Mickelson looks almost like a bad villain in a awful movie. I almost want to compare him to a vampire in a questionable vampire movie
Okay,
at
I need to
He's
best.
find
so
this.
big.
Do you see the one of he and Greg Norman now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Norman looks like the father of the father vampire and Mickelson looks it's on golf.com is where you can go. It's got the updates, little updates page, and it's kind of a huge picture of Mickelson and Norman, and it's terrifying. Mickelson has not aged well over the last 5 months.
I'm so curious what he's been doing for the last 5 months. Like, he didn't look that bad a year ago.
No, he looked normal.
When he won the PGA, he looked like he's always looked.
He looked
Something happened ever since he went off the map.
it's like he went into the desert in Arizona and has been living out
It's like
there.
he's been on a 5-month bender.
It's interesting to say the least. But he will Phil Mickelson is back later today. He will be back out on the course there in London.
And the US Open's next week, is that right?
US Opens next week. And that
Would
is
that be the best story for us is if Phil won the US Open, completed that's all he's missing, is that right, for the career Grand Slam?
yes.
So if he won the career Grand Slam a week after playing on the Live Tour and causing all this commotion.
I think when you talk about next week, I think if it's Dustin Johnson or Phil Mickelson. I mean, certainly if it was like a Louis Oosthuizen or someone like that, I don't know off the top of my head if Kevin Na would be in the U.S. Open field. I assume he would, but it would be very interesting to see. It would actually probably just because the Mickelson storyline's pretty different, but Dustin Johnson, who's still in his prime and had already said he was not going to be a part of the Live Golf Tour, only to backtrack on that this week. If it was Dustin Johnson that basically went over to London, basically took his check for $125 million, comes back to the States next week and wins the U.S. Open.
I want to see him just flaunting money.
Yeah, just
like I want to see him tipping his playing partners,
just
or like wearing a $1 million watch or something.
I was going to say wearing a suit of money as he accepts the U.S. Open.
I want to
trophy.
see him walking with a briefcase full of money and then accidentally drop it and spill it all over
just
the
got
place
Austin,
and just have to pick up all of his money.
He's got his caddy, Austin Johnson, just behind him, just shooting him next week. But we'll talk more about the Live Golf Tour as we go through the morning. We'll also get into some NFL news. Deebo Samuel making an appearance at San Francisco 49er mini camp. Get Patrick's take on that. Cooper Kupp signing a massive deal. I want to get your opinion on the Cooper Kupp deal and how it impacts Deebo Samuel as well. Cooper Kupp with a pretty good extension yesterday for the Los Angeles Rams. Los Angeles Rams apparently are being a part of the Live Golf Tour as well. Where are they getting the money?
I don't get it. This happens every once in a while. The Saints did it forever, being $70 million over the cap and then just figuring it out. And now the Rams can just pay anyone and everyone however much they want. They have like $500 million players on the roster.
3 years, $80 million for Cooper Kupp. That's the extension.
Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford. They signed Allen Robinson. They had Odell last year. So they signed Bobby Wagner. Like they just have everyone on their team is making $100 million. It's ridiculous.
For those of you who want it, it's the deal for Cooper Kupp, $75 million guaranteed. The contract is now worth $110 million over 5 years. The highest amount of guaranteed money ever to an NFL wide receiver. We'll talk about that. And of course, our South Carolina countdown continues on. Number 27 here in about an hour. We'll get to that. So we got a lot to get to this morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can be a part of the program. As always, you can go to our live stream. DC, Anthony, RL, Jerry up with us this morning and rolling right along. You can be as well. Again, 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The Extra Point
with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
If you're going to watch that big golf event this coming week, tomorrow, today, Saturday, you need to have a clean home. Maybe you have people that want to come over and, enjoy the festivities with you, check out all of the great things that are happening in the golf tournaments. But you want to have a clean home to do it. And in the easy way to do that is to contact Zero Res. That's right. You can get in touch with Zero Res, 803-262-4020. Get them out with their patented ZR Water technology, scientifically proven to keep your rugs, your carpet, your tiles, your upholstery all insanely clean. And right now, if you use the promo code Summer Sale, you can get 15% off all cleaning services. Again, that's carpet, rugs, upholstery, tile, air ducts, all 15% off when you use the promo code Summer Sale at ZerorezColumbia.com. Again, you can give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or you can book with ease online, ZerorezColumbia.com. However you do it, you want to make sure you use that promo code Summer Sale to get 15% off all cleaning services. So don't wait any longer. Call Zerorez. Use my name, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game, and tell them you want to use Summer Sale to get 15% off all cleaning options that they have. 803-262-4020 or online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean.
1075 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
Really just one slowdown to speak of. I-77 northbound just before Forest Drive. There had been an earlier accident. Now that's off to the side, so the shoulder is blocked. Might be getting people's attention, but shouldn't be too bad. Might see a scattered shower today, 92 for the high, 90 tomorrow, 89 on Saturday. Again, that chance for some rain comes back in on Saturday. But right now, 73 at 107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by Athletic Greens. One scoop of AG1 has 75 multivitamins to help you start your day off right. Go to athleticgreens.com/CBSAM. On a recent radio show, Mike Krzyzewski suggested that the Power 5 conferences should more or less break away, but without killing March Madness. And men's and women's basketball should unite going forward. I'm Boomer Esiason.
CBS Sports Radio.
Spoil Dad with the Father's Day at Lowe's, where you'll save big on the sweetest assortment of his favorite treats. Like a Craftsman 20-volt drill kit, was $79, now $69. Or gifts that sizzle, like a special buy Blackstone 28-inch griddle starter kit, now $278, valued at $329. There's nothing sweeter than Father's Day at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, about 6/9 through 6/15.
O'Reilly.
Restore shine and protect your interior with Armor All cleaning and protectant wipes at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, buy 2 canisters of Armor All wipes and get 1 free. Plus, you'll earn double O Rewards points. Clean, shine, and protect with Armor All wipes available at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. At Napa, when it comes to serving you, their motor never quits. From curbside and next day delivery on over 160,000 auto parts to getting involved with the
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in this morning if you want to do so. Coming up in about 50 minutes, I would estimate, we will announce the number 27 player on our countdown of the top 30 players of the SEC era for South Carolina.
Have they told you who it is?
Patrick actually did. Blame Patrick if I spoil it.
They've just taken it all away, haven't they?
I don't have access to anything anymore. Offensive player today. Offensive player. And I think this one will be I think the list is interesting to me. And we talked about this yesterday with J.C. Horn, Patrick, and his legacy at South Carolina. Now, his legacy in the NFL is yet to be defined because he got injured this year, and it was only his rookie year. He's got a long way to go. But his legacy at South Carolina is very interesting in terms of what you remember about him and how you view what he did. He'll always get credit for that Auburn game and that being his breakout game. And I think from the standpoint of you really don't want to hear a defensive back's name called too much, because if it's getting called a lot, that's probably a bad sign. Yeah. And then J.C. Horn, by and large, really didn't get mentioned a whole lot because of that. He was a good cover corner. He just didn't seem to make the plays that could change a game. I think somebody texted in yesterday and pointed out the North Carolina game where the ball just simply vanished through his hands and into the hands of the North Carolina receiver for an interception that would have sealed the game there for the Gamecocks. But J.C. Horn at 28 yesterday was kind of interesting because I don't know where he would have fit in on the list. And again, some of you start texting in and blaming me. Patrick doesn't know some of these defensive backs, but Sheldon Brown, Andre Goodman, Dunta Robinson, Jonathan Joseph, Captain Munnerlin, Stephon Gilmore, DJ Swearinger, Darian Stewart was a really good one. Arturo Freeman was a fantastic one out of Orangeburg. I'm going to be interested now as I say Arturo Freeman to see if he makes the list, because he was back in the 90s and people forget about him. He was a really good one, Patrick. And quite honestly, I think if you read off those names, and I know you don't know like a Dunta Robinson or an Arturo Freeman or even a Darian Stewart. Stewart went on to a very good NFL career.
Yeah, Broncos.
Yeah. I don't know how people would rank those versus J.C. Horn at the South or Captain Munnerlin. I have no idea if Munnerlin's going to make this list or not.
But Munnerlin also played like a decade plus in the NFL, right?
Mhm.
Or maybe not plus. That's an incredibly long career, but close to that. It's just, I don't know how many pure cover corners get the credit they deserve in college. I mean, you have to be just very rare. Like I think of LSU and Derek Stingley coming in as a true freshman, being a first team All-American. Like, yeah, everyone knew that he was different and he was targeted because he was a true freshman. But like, I guess I don't remember Stephon Gilmore's college career, but he was also on a good team. So was that kind of known that just Stephon Gilmore is going to lock down the number one receiver on every team, no matter what?
You talking about at the college level?
Yeah.
I was going back and reading. Munnerlin, by the way, real quick, played from 2000. He was on the Bills roster in 2019, but he was part of a practice squad. So he was from 2009 to 2018.
Right around
so,
a decade.
right around a decade for him. I was like, he's only 34 years old. But to go back, you were asking about,
like, was it just a known thing every week that whoever the best receiver for the opposing team was going to be shut down because Stephon Gilmore is covering him?
At South Carolina, no, because I think Ellis Johnson and I think at that time Lorenzo Ward, I mean, it was Gilmore's on this side of the field.
Okay.
Like, if it's Gilmore now, South Carolina also had some pretty good defensive backs that were on the other side of the field to go along with the secondary as a whole. You had,
I mean, was it like? I'm just trying to think. Like when he was there, did everyone know? Yeah, that's a first round pick. He's going to play in the NFL. That corner right there is going to play in the NFL for forever.
The interesting thing about Gilmore was that he was a quarterback at South Point High School, but was recruited with the intention of being a defensive back. Like it was, I'm trying to think of like Kenny McKinley was also a quarterback, at high school, but was coming to South Carolina with the intention of being a wide receiver. That was known when he was being recruited. I think somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I think Xavier Legette is a very similar situation, that he was a quarterback down there at his high school, but was known it was coming to be a wide receiver. So Gilmore, because I remember interviewing him at the Shrine Bowl, and afterwards he won MVP of it, was playing quarterback, and was obviously such a dynamic offensive guy. And but it was just well known. Hey, this guy's going to be a defensive back, and it honestly, Patrick, it was kind of like it was well known he was going to be an elite defensive back just because of how athletic he was. He was also obviously a very good point guard for South Point High School and just an incredible all around athlete. But to answer your question, yeah, he kind of came to South Carolina like, all right, this is a guy who's going to play 3 years, and then he's going to the NFL at the defensive back position.
Like RL comments, I don't know if I would give them bonus points for the NFL career when ranking them as college players. I agree. But when I look at the list and I'm looking ahead too, I think that people are absolutely doing that. Like it's hard to not. When you think back in hindsight, when you try to think back 10 years almost for Stephon Gilmore playing, I find it hard to believe that he was getting the recognition he deserved at that time because it's hard to give just a shutdown corner unless he's the kind of guy that's coming up and making big hits and he's like a thumper. Like Jalen Ramsey is now one of the best, but everyone knew how good he was at Florida State because he was also playing safety and making big hits and just all over the field. And he's also 215 pounds or something like that and can actually hit. So if you're not making high profile plays like that and you're just constantly locking someone down, it's hard to get the credit from the fans because it just sort of goes unnoticed on the television broadcast.
Yeah, I was pulling back up Gilmore's interceptions, and he finished his career with 8 interceptions. Not bad.
What's his most memorable play? Do you have one? Is there a play for him? Or are there multiple?
I'd like to actually know that. And Gilmore, we all agree. I don't know where he's going to be on the list. If you asked me to put him on the list, it would be top 10. I don't know if I would put him in the top 5, like if I started ranking them as I go down this list. So there will be a day where we talk about Stephon Gilmore, but you ask a great question on him. And honestly, what I would say about Stephon Gilmore is his most memorable play is an offensive play. The pass he threw to Alshon Jeffrey against Clemson his freshman season out of the Wildcat formation that set up a score for South Carolina. So Gilmore will not be again, I said it's an offensive player that we will talk about today. That will be at number 27 coming up in about 45 minutes. But yeah, Gilmore was certainly a good player, but that kind of goes back to J.C. Horn. Horn was a well-known guy coming out of high school that was expected to be very good. The college career, not sure that it necessarily the hype lived up to what the production of the college career was, but he ends up being the number 8 pick in the NFL draft and ends up being the first defensive player taken 2 years ago in the NFL draft.
Yeah, but it's not a production-based position. And everybody knew that he was good his whole career too. Like the opposing coaches knew that J.C. Horn was good. When Will Muschamp would come start his press conferences and he'd talk about first the injuries and then he'd break down the other team and start naming all the top players. Every coach that would do that for South Carolina would start naming, it starts in the secondary. J.C. Horn is a fantastic corner. Like everyone just knew he was good, but I don't know. I guess there was some sort of flair or just the pure interception numbers or people are tainted by the way things ended, which is also very fair.
That is 803-404-6100. We will continue on. We'll talk a little bit more about J.C. Horn. Gamecock Larry wants to weigh in, and we'll get his take on that. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
107.5 The Game. Streaming 24/7.
1 billion of us own a smartphone, and we know how addicting it can be.
Just go to iTunes or the Google Play Store and download our app.
So you never miss any of your favorite shows.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5
The Game.
So when are you taking your Halloween decorations down?
Decorations?
Those creepy colors on your house? They're perfect for that haunted house look. How do you do that?
It's a combination of mold, mildew, and algae.
Wow, you really go for authenticity.
Uh-huh. What I need to go for is Squeegee Clean.
Squeegee Clean, your locally owned and operated outdoor cleaning experts. Serving the Midlands since 2004. Residential and commercial, we're the soft washing experts. Cleaning more than just the surface. Call 803-407-6916. Online at squeegeecleansc.com.
Couple weeks into June now, we are in the heart of summer, and it's going to be time for the kids running around, having people over at the pool, whatever it might be. You need to make sure the house is taken care of. Canty is the foundation specialist, and they've been proudly serving North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, including offices in Columbia, Greenville, Augusta, Charlotte, and Charleston, so they can find you wherever you might be in the region. They are the foundation specialists, and if you have signs of foundation problems like cracks in your exterior brick, in your walls, door frames, or above your garage doors, Maybe you have doors or windows that stick or uneven or bouncy floors. These are all signs of foundation problems that need to be taken care of, and you need to call Canty, 803-424-8380. They're also experts at crawl space repair. So if you have a night like last night, it was rainy last night. If you have an open crawl space and recently experienced a storm, you could have standing water under your home. So you want to check for that. That can create high humidity and condensation in the crawl space and create an environment for mold, mildew, and pests, including termites. That moisture can lead to wood rot and floor joist problems. And those musty smells and awful odors that come from the mildew, they can cause health issues like runny nose, itchy eyes, and coughs. 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from the crawl space, so you need to get it taken care of. 803-424-8380 is the number for Canty Foundation Specialist, or you can visit them on the web at cantycanfixit.com.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
Really, no major slowdowns out there this morning. Great news. Just a disabled vehicle, I-20 eastbound at exit 44. Just don't slow down to look. Just keep on cruising. Your forecast for today, chance for a scattered shower. 92 for the high, 90 tomorrow. Kind of a nice start to your day, though. 73 right now at 107.5 The Game.
SC Department of Corrections is hiring correctional officers statewide. Officers must be at least 18 years old and have a high school diploma or GED. $7,500 sign-on bonuses, unlimited paid overtime, and great employee benefits are available. Visit joinscdc.com for more info.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Cooper Kupp has signed a 3-year extension with the Rams worth roughly $80 million. This new deal makes Kupp the 6th highest paid receiver in the league. His quarterback, Matthew Stafford, says he'll be ready to throw at training camp in July. Stafford had an injection in his right elbow and has not thrown this offseason. The Broncos announcing they've entered into a purchase and sale agreement with the Walton Penner family. According to NFL Network's James Palmer, the winning bid for the team is for $4.65 billion. The Browns are excusing Baker Mayfield from mandatory minicamp next week. Head coach Kevin Stefanski says the decision was mutual and best for both parties. The Ravens are expecting Lamar Jackson to be in attendance next week when mandatory minicamp starts. Head coach John Harbaugh says he knows Lamar will come back in great shape. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Book your trip to Bundletown today. There is so much to stream. Drop in on Disney Plus to see all your favorites.
And some unexpected surprises.
Head to Hulu to watch the latest hits, movies, and originals.
And pop by ESPN Plus to catch a game, an original, and the 30 for 30 library.
Looking for your next streaming destination? Come to Bundletown.
Get the Disney bundle today, only $13.99 a month. Includes Hulu ad-supported plan. Access content from each service separately. And select ESPN Plus content via Hulu. Terms apply.
A dad in Lowe's feels just like being a kid again. This Father's Day, find prices to treat him to the gifts he craves. Like $60 savings on your choice of a DeWalt 20-volt max brushless drill or impact driver kit. Was $159, now $99. Or an Ego 615 CFM blower, everyday low price of $199. There's nothing sweeter than Father's Day at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, about 6/9 through 6/15.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
.635 on a Thursday morning, June the 9th. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Patrick Perrette will carry you through here up and at 'em as we are really now into the summer. I think the official start, what Jen has, our official starter of the summer is Jen Jensen, and she has labeled it June 21st is the actual first day. But with kids being out of school now, almost for a full week, we are into the summertime. And one of the things that we're doing here on 107.5 The Game, if you've been living under a rock and not paying any attention, is we're doing your top 30 players of South Carolina of the SEC era. Number 30, I think, was a little bit of a shock because I thought he would be a little bit higher with Steven Garcia. Number 29 was Mike Davis, the former running back, and number 28 was J.C. Horn. Number 27 coming up here in about 35 minutes, and a couple of you weighing in on Stephon Gilmore, because we were just kind of comparing. You had Gilmore, who was a top 10 draft pick. You had J.C. Horn, who was a top 10 draft pick. And if you talk about their college careers, they're not even in the same stratosphere with each other, Patrick, really. Again, I mentioned Gilmore with 8 career interceptions. Horn had 3, had 2. Did he finish with 2 or did he get one more?
No, I think it was 2.
Okay. Yeah, and they obviously come in the same game. Also hurts J.C. Horn that
Just not being on a successful team.
at all. Not even close. Yeah.
I really think that's the main difference, though.
And a couple of you weighing in on that. Anonymous texter says Bill is correct, though. When I think of Gilmore at South Carolina, I think of him in the Wildcats spanking Clemson. Richard weighing in on this says Andre Goodman was the best cover corner I can remember at South Carolina. Chris weighing in says Gilmore was known to be that good. And if anybody knew anything about cover corners and watched his hips, he knew why. Ask Julio Jones how good and physical Gilmore was. And then I just want to read this text because it came in at a time where Patrick and I were watching ESPN that says nothing to do with Gilmore or South Carolina football. We were watching the highlights of the Celtics Warriors for last night. And if you caught the first segment, we were talking about Draymond Green and what Draymond Green was doing. Eddie weighed in and said, that's why I don't watch the NBA. He sent his text in literally as we were watching Draymond Green flop all over the floor last night.
So weird.
And just kind of act insane trying to get into the head of the Boston Celtics and under their skin. So I appreciate Eddie sending in that text this morning, given he sent it right as we were seeing something kind of entertaining as it pertained to Draymond Green and the game last night. 803-404-6100. We continue talking about South Carolina football this morning. And Jen, let's get out to those Love Chevy phone lines where our resident expert, Gamecock Larry, wants to weigh in on J.C. Horn. Gamecock Larry, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm doing okay. But I got to make an apology. Somebody told me, called me, said that I called one of the hosts on the extra point yesterday a boy. I'm sorry if I did. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I apologize because both of them are excellent young men, and I love both of them, but I love all of 107.5. I even love old Bill. But let me tell you, that young man that made the statement that J.C. Horn was better than Stephon Gilmore. Now, that young man, I do not know what he's smoking or what he's drinking, but old Gamecock Larry ain't had none of it in years and years. If he tell me that J.C. Horn is better than Stephon Gilmore, one things I remember about Stephon, well, I don't remember much about Stephon because sometimes I can't remember my own name and my social security number because I'm getting old. I can't get my brain in my mouth organized or calibrated or whatever you call it. I operate at the same time, say what I'm supposed to say, and I might say some things wrong. And I'm sorry to the young man on extra point. I'll apologize. Okay, now, 4 things I remember about J.C. Horn. Number 1, he had a last name. He had Horn from his daddy in the NFL. He was a good cover, good cover man. He had 3 pass interceptions against Auburn, I think it was. But the 4th thing that I remember about J.C. Horn. Now I want, and also when you hang me up, Bill, I want you to let me know if you are picking the best player or the favorite player, because there's a lot of difference in the best and the favorite. Ain't no way Horn is better than Stephon Gilmore. But the 4th thing I remember about J.C. Horn, and you ain't going to like it, and no, I can't help whether you like it or not, but I'm going to tell you like it is. He is, and he did, and he was AQUITTER. He did quit on his team. I don't care what you say. I don't care what anybody else say. But the Gamecock Nation, the old Gamecock Nation, they all know he did quit on the team, just like the rest of them quit. But that's all right. That's all I got to say. And again, I apologize to those two young men on the extra point. I apologize. Go Gamecocks.
A lot.
The poll, what we're doing, the countdown is, well, it was fan based.
Correct.
We didn't do it. I don't really have an answer on that one. It's fan based. So everybody's criteria could have been a little bit different.
I think we might still see Stephon Gilmore.
I've got a feeling we'll see Stephon Gilmore.
JC is not higher than Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, that one. So
maybe.
So we got that going for us this morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. If you want to try and follow that phone call, we appreciate Gamecock Larry, who said he doesn't always remember his name or his social security number, but he remembered how to spell quitter, which puts him about 7 steps ahead of me right there, because spelling certainly not my forte either. The English language, spelling, all that. So Gamecock Larry has got me topped already this morning at 6:43 on a Thursday morning. Hope you're having a great morning. It's the early game. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, and Jen Jensen on the early game.
Here's what's coming up
on the next halftime show.
Hey guys, it's Jay and Terry coming up on the Thursday halftime show. We will be talking about player number 27 in our top 30 favorite Gamecocks of the SEC era countdown. After we talked about J.C. Horn, we got into talking about Joe Horn and his dad there, who had the Sharpie, and we got whoever we talk about tomorrow. It will lead to like a player, 10 spots away. It's kind of like a Kevin Bacon game.
Everything ends up at Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, one of those kind of things.
Everything ends up at Joe Horn.
For me, it'll probably end up with somebody like Peyton Manning or John Elway.
I think with you, it'll end up being a Bronco.
Yes. Or maybe I could take
a member of Fish.
Yes, or maybe an Atlanta Brave.
The halftime show with Jay, Terry, and Tommy.
Noon to 3
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Jumping in the pool, it is a rite of summertime. That's right. You come home after a long day of work. You've been dealing with coworkers or people that call into your work and tell you about stuff and then spell things out for you. And when you go home, you're just ready to jump in the pool. But if you got a dirty pool, that doesn't really make it any fun. You need to use Corley Pool Solutions for your pool maintaining needs. Every pool has its own personality, and you can't really trust the pool store representative to properly diagnose any issues you have with your pool that may be causing algae and turning that pool green. You need to use a guy who comes directly to your house and has over 20 years of experience in the industry. That guy is Tracy Corley with Corley Pool Solutions. It's actually more affordable to use Corley Pool Solutions, no contracts, flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals, than it is for you to go to the pool store and try and do it yourself. So call Corley Pool Solutions today, 803-445-8109. Again, that's 803-445-8109. Corley Pool Solutions. They stand by their word. They believe in their service, and you will too. That's why, again, they offer weekly cleanings, no contracts, and flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. And if you've been losing a little bit of water in your pool, you're not real sure why, Corley Pool Solutions now offers leak detection. That's right. Corley Pool Solutions are certified leak protection specialists. So whatever your pool maintaining needs are, call Corley Pool Solutions today. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
Well, things looking pretty good out on the highways this morning. No major slowdowns, no accidents to report at this time. Your forecast for today, chance for a scattered shower, 92 for the high. A little less humid for your Friday, 90 will be the high. And it's a good start to your what today is. Today's Thursday, I guess. Okay, let's go with that. And your Thursday morning, pretty nice right now, 73 at 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Dell Technologies and Windows 11 provide innovators with the tools to succeed. To do more with the Latitude laptop, Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for Business. For advice and expertise, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Hey, Scott here for Traditions Fine Jewelers. One of the things I love about the jewelry business is that each item we sell will have a story, a moment, or some type of history with it in the future. For us, it's not just about selling jewelry. Because jewelry is lasting, Traditions Fine Jewelers also takes great pride in helping you keep your jewelry looking its best. This is why we have an on-site jeweler who's been in the business over 25 years. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we've saved many heartbreaks and costly repairs with our jewelry cleaning service. It's quick and easy, and best of all, it's free. Unfortunately, accidents do happen. In those cases, our staff will take care in inspecting.
The Cooper Cup segment from ESPN. Yeah, RL, I was NC State game. I remember that for turn that down. For Gilmore, he had the pass break up in the end zone. Morning, Robin. What do you mean you had access to the Athlon magazine and coaches all SEC list? But don't we still have access to that? Don't we? Yeah, and I'm with you. Garcia at 30. I don't know what talent based or based on likability. I thought Garcia would have been higher.
I think we need to start working in spelling words just at random.
Just every once in a while.
Every once in a
Jen
while.
just calls out, all right, you have to spell that word that you just used.
Right.
Or just like the most unnecessary word in your sentence, just in the middle of a take, just start SPELLING and then just keep going and carrying on.
I think that actually could be pretty funny. Have our own little spelling bee.
A spelling bee would be a fun show segment.
And then the loser has to spin the wheel of agony.
We could do that.
Mm-hmm. Watch out, though.
I feel like that's setting me up to be the loser. I feel like I go in already down, one hand behind my back on that. Although I don't know how you two spell.
I came in third place in the county spelling bee in 8th grade.
A cow and a goat beat you?
You're a funny guy.
Farmer Fran?
It has potential. I don't know if we could how we could make sports a part of it, but no, I wouldn't do names. I would say we could do like spell people's names.
Yeah, Detlef Schrempf. Go.
But there's going to be Gamecocks I've never heard of that Bill's going to know how to spell their names.
(803-404-6100) if you want to weigh in this morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. Thank you to Gamecock Larry for providing us with show content, because now Patrick wants to have a spelling bee.
Yeah.
As part, I've offered that if we do a spelling bee, the loser has to spin the wheel of agony. We do have to come up with another.
I like the idea of
another
spelling bee for the wheel.
I think that'd be super fun.
I'm smart enough to know that I'm going into that spelling bee with the highest odds of spinning the wheel or winning. Let's just say winning or the lowest, or whatever you want to say. I'm the third pick in that one.
There's so much potential though. Like, can we get like Tony Ann in here and we have to spell like British slang or just define, like he'll just give us a word and we have to say what it is.
Yeah, that would actually be entertaining. In one of his segments.
Again, I feel like I'm going into this already down.
Two hands tied behind your back.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing this blindfolded with two hands tied behind my back. Whatever analogy you want to use for somebody who has little to no chance of winning, that's what I get. But Patrick's now, I guess, going to work on a spelling bee for us for the next week or so. And how to incorporate it into the program. I like that Patrick's just not going straight to the spelling bee, though. He's at least trying to think of how to incorporate it into some sports, and then that way when I lose, it was all part of sports. I feel like this is all just really a test of you two trying to see how many times I can spin the wheel of agony over there to try and have to run the board.
That's true, but I like the idea of I'm now sort of going to be obsessed over the British slang.
Well, that could be fun, like, every week when Tony's on, give him there be like 2-3 words a time, a visit or something.
Or like use this word in a sentence could be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
there's a lot of potential here.
Since you two are so creative in this, you two will be the
What's Bagsy?
What is Bagsy?
I would actually like to quiz him on British slang to see if it's legit. Apparently, shouting Bagsy is the equivalent of calling shotgun.
Okay. All right. I
Oh.
would have, I mean, again, I'm never going to get that.
Do not violate the rules of Bagsy, it says.
Okay. There you go. So, kids, as you're heading off
A
to,
bog roll?
what?
Bog roll?
I can only guess it has to do with swamp. I don't know.
It's toilet paper.
Really?
That's what they say.
All right.
Okay, you can't study anymore.
All
Otherwise
right, this
you're
is
not gonna know.
good.
Yeah, Patrick's over
By
here.
the way, this is goodhousekeeping.com. So I don't know how much I trust them.
Yeah, a well-known British website, goodhousekeeping.com. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on that. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll get to player number 27 on our countdown of the top 30 players for South Carolina of the SEC era. We do thank Tony Annan and his staff for having us out yesterday for the his first ever Little Gamecocks soccer camp going on. Yesterday was a little bit cooler, good for the kids. I think today, Jen's hopefully going to be a little bit better. I know Austin's starting to wear down a little bit, but days 4 and 5 coming up for him. But Tony and his staff doing an absolutely phenomenal job. And afterwards, Patrick, real quickly, he showed me around the facility and had a chance to go in the locker room and look at the players' lounge and everything they have. I didn't realize. I mean, they've done a good job over there with what I would say is the indoor portion of the facilities, the lobby that we walked into, the weight room, which is connected to the stadium, so that they don't have to go down and use the old football weight room or anything like that. South Carolina's got some really. We were talking about the facilities and yesterday, and they do have some really nice facilities. What they've got to do is fix up Stone Stadium. They've got the exterior where the fans are sitting and making the bleachers or the stadium itself, what I would call the exterior, look a little bit better. But Tony and the staff over there, they've got a great job, or they've got a great, again, I'd say indoor locker room. They've got the cold tubs or whatever he was showing me that's unique to South Carolina. So Coach Annan certainly has got some good things to work with over there. I'm kind of excited to see his ball club this year and what he can build with that program and get back. And again, you can go and you can purchase tickets for both the men's and the women's. $25 gets you tickets to both the men's and the women's. Not $25 individually. $25 can get you tickets to home games, season tickets for both the men's and the women's. So big thank you to him for having us out yesterday to his facility and being able to show us around and us being a part of that with what they've got going on. 803-404-6100. Again, coming up in about 2 hours, Patrick, the Live Golf Tour gets underway. You can watch it via YouTube, not YouTube TV. I have YouTube TV. I'm not going to be able to watch it that way. It's actually youtube.com is where you can go and watch that, just as you can go and watch us each and every morning. You go to youtube.com, search, click, and subscribe, and find us. It's going to be the same thing with the Live Golf Tour. Is this something that I'm not asking you if you're going to watch it, because that's going to require a lot of work. Is it something you at least keep an eye on through the next few days? Like, look, if it's on highlights on the Sports Center, do you kind of go out of your way to check it out?
I don't think it will be on Sports Center. I think they're going to do everything they can to not.
No, they've got to. I don't think you can just ignore it. It's gotten too big now. I don't think you can ignore it.
Well, I will definitely put on the YouTube. I don't care who wins the tournament. It's irrelevant to me, but I just want to see what it looks like. I want to see if it's. I think people have been making fun of how they've done the press and stuff this week. Like, it's just clearly been sort of a JV operation. But I do want to see what the broadcast looks like. If the shots look as good as they will on the PGA Tour, if they have nice HD cameras and camera angles, and if it sounds professional, and there's no one's Jim Nance, but if it sounds good and looks good, I will be interested to see that.
Did you see that? Was it Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood kind of were squirming a little bit after a question they were asked about all this, because the Saudis are backing this.
Yeah.
Basically, they were asked, if Vladimir Putin put on a tournament, would you play there?
The press has been,
Yeah.
For those of you who want media asking difficult questions, the golfers over there this week have been grilled on some of the things, and some of the answers have been very interesting, to say the least. We'll see where all this goes. 7 more events after this one. Obviously, the DeChambeau and Patrick Reed news. We'll get back into that. And I want to talk about Cooper Kupp and his new contract in the NFL and how it affects Deebo Samuel, all on the early game on 107.5 The Game. Hour number 2 of the program. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, as we get you through on a Thursday morning, June the 9th. Should be another really nice day out there as we take at least one step closer to the start of college football season. And we'll talk more college football this hour. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we will get you the number 27 player on our countdown of the top 30 players in South Carolina's SEC era. That player will be an offensive player this morning, and I'll be interested to hear the feedback on this guy as well. Be again, just kind of interesting. We'll play some audio from that particular player as well this morning. So coming up in about 10 minutes, we will get you that player as well, and you'll be able to discuss that throughout the day. Remember, we just put the list out there. Fans did the voting. As far as I know, Jay Phillips didn't go there and vote from 12 different computers. Just use all the computers in the facility here and vote every time. So
Wouldn't have made a dent.
Wouldn't have made a dent. Okay. Yep. So there you go. There was a lot of votes coming in. So, but yeah, so we did not just do this ourselves. We asked for your help and you supplied it, and we appreciate that very much. 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program this morning. Again, last night, Boston Celtics won 16-100 victory over Golden State. They take a 2-1 lead in that series. And it was a night in which Steph Curry puts up 31. Klay Thompson scores 25. You think, well, that's probably going to be enough, Patrick. It's not enough. It's not enough at all. Boston gets contributions from what we think is their big three, what we consider to be their big three. Throw in Al Horford, who had a pretty solid game. Didn't score like he did in game one, but Al Horford was very solid. And Boston pulls away in the fourth quarter, outscoring Golden State 23-11. And now, again, it's back to where you feel like Boston has control of this series.
Yeah, but things also change so quickly. Like I think the Warrior. I don't know if the series odds shifted. Did you happen to see that? I don't know if it ever changed from when Boston won the first game. They became favorites in the series. I wouldn't be surprised if after game 2, Golden State became favorite in the series because it does just switch so much. And when's the next game? Saturday? Is it 4-day break? 3-day break?
Pull that back up.
Okay. Whatever the next game is, if Golden State comes in there and takes care of business, because I'm also convinced that we're not going to have a single-digit deficit for the rest of the series. I think they're all just going to be 10-plus point games. If Golden State wins the next one, we'll say then Golden State's got them right back where they want them because they've got home court advantage now. Again, they've gotten one back. Boston stole one in San Francisco, and they've stolen one in Boston, and we'll think that they're going to win now. It's so difficult to not overreact to every game because they are all so big. I mean, Boston now needs 2 more games. That's all it takes, and they can obviously do it, but I'm not convinced that Golden State's just kind of done now.
Friday night.
Which
is strange because the NBA, this is, maybe it matters to some, maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure, but Friday night, 9:00, and then no games this weekend. 2 travel days before they'll play again Monday in Golden State. So just kind of strange that you don't have an NBA Finals game on Saturday or kind of an earlier start time on Sunday. You would think that would make the most sense is to have a 6:00 start on Sunday. Sometimes things that make the most sense don't exactly happen. One thing that makes a lot of sense is the opportunity to give Cooper Kupp a huge contract extension. Yesterday, he gets that from the Los Angeles Rams, an $80 million extension. He has $75 million guaranteed now. It is the highest guaranteed payout for a wide receiver in NFL history. Patrick, that's great. Cooper Kupp's interesting. He's certainly if not the best wide receiver in the league. He led the league last year with 145 catches, 1,947 yards, and 16 touchdowns. He was also MVP of the Super Bowl. So, look, he deserves it. That's not where I'm going with this. What I do ask you now is Deebo Samuel is looking for a massive contract. And we've talked about that. Deebo Samuel is reported to the 49ers training camp this week, their voluntary or their mandatory training camp. So he's out there, he's being a part of it. But now is Deebo Samuel in any way, and I'm not saying make the kind of money that Cooper Kupp is, but is he in any way able to leverage the Cooper Kupp contract for his own gain?
Well, he should be able to, but he's not going to be happy with that. He won't take it because Cooper Kupp's not the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. I think he's actually 6th. I think is what I heard. He's got the most guaranteed money, which maybe Deebo can leverage that part of it. But I think his AAV is 22, right? I don't know if you're looking at it. I think his AAV is about 22. Tyreek Hill's at 30. Devontae Adams at 28. DeAndre Hopkins at 27. AJ Brown's at 25. AJ Brown's was the newest deal before Cooper Kupp, and I think Debo was wanting that. So maybe from the guaranteed money standpoint, like I would do that. If I were the 49ers, I would say, Debo, we'll give you a 4-year extension for $100 million and 80 of it's guaranteed. Like I would do that in a heartbeat. Maybe 100 is a little bit high, maybe 5-year 100 million or get it down to 20 AAV. But yeah, I mean, it seems like Debo's issue, if he wouldn't take something like that, is now it clearly is a 49ers thing, not a money thing. And we still haven't gotten that part figured out. That's what makes the Debo thing so a little bit confusing, and just there's a lot of unknown. He showed back up to practice, which is nice, but that was what we were kind of discussing. Is it the fact that he doesn't like being used the way he's being used, or is it that he wants more money? Because they're two different things, and if money can't solve his issue, then this is all kind of a moot point, and he's going to play out this year, and then he's going to try and get himself to free agency as soon as possible. But I would like to think that he could do this, and I would hope that the 49ers would help him, because I want him to stay on the 49ers. It's more fun that way. I don't see him being as successful anywhere else, and this is a perfect situation for him, especially with Trey Lance coming too and adding a running threat as a quarterback.
I'm with you on the NFL. The contract, the NFL contracts are so they're weird because it is the most violent sport. Like it's hockey obviously can be very violent. You've seen some of the hits, especially in the playoffs here, that have knocked guys out. So hockey certainly is up there, but hockey players are not paid in the same manner that NBA or Major League Baseball.
And hockey's violent, but it's not. There's less torn ligaments and things like that because they're not going to the ground necessarily.
But where I was going with that is, you've got baseball, you've got basketball. Those contracts are guaranteed. You get your money in those things. NFL is so crazy. You can sign this massive 4-year, say $120 million deal, or I'm just kind of making up numbers. But if you don't get 75 guaranteed, that contract really doesn't matter. You've really got to try and work your way through it to get all of the money that is in that contract. That's why the guaranteed money. I'm with you on that. If I'm Debo Samuel, I'm looking more at what the guaranteed money for me over whatever the length of the contract he wants. And that's why I ask you with Cooper Kupp, $75 million guaranteed. That's where can Debo leverage that number and say, okay, I don't maybe need the what did he want? We said about 4 years, 80 million. Was in the ballpark 20? I think
I think it's probably 3 years, 80 million or something like that. It's because 20 is going to be the very low end of what he will want. But I think 20 is right around where he belongs.
But see, if I'm Debo, if they come and they say, yeah, we'll give you 3 years, 80 million, but let's just say 40 million of it's guaranteed, that's not a good contract. That's not what you I mean, you've got to play out your 3 years, and that's where Debo Samuel's kind of come in and said, hey, if you're gonna, however you're gonna pay me, we got to be careful about using me like a running back, because I get hit differently than I do when I'm out there being tackled by safeties and defensive backs, and how they choose to tackle you as opposed to coming through the line of scrimmage and being hit by a defensive lineman or a linebacker.
But that's what we're imagining Debo's point is, because he actually hasn't said anything. The only thing closest thing that Debo has done to saying something on this matter is liking a tweet about wanting to be traded. Like, I think that's all he's done. I don't think he's straight up said, it's not about the money or it's not about my usage. We're just purely speculating. So that's where I thought, like, if it's about your usage, the only reason that you're complaining about your usage is because it's going to inhibit your ability to get or prohibit your ability to get a big contract. But if they give you the contract and give you the guaranteed money, well, that's now not an issue anymore. So why would you not take it? So I don't know if the 49ers have come at him with a legitimate offer yet or not, but if they offered him the Cooper Kupp contract, he should take it.
Yeah.
And I think they should offer him the Cooper Kupp contract because he's more valuable to them than anyone else will be at that position, the way they use him. And I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It's a mutual thing. Like, he is best suited. His best usage to be successful is with this 49ers offense, and the 49ers offense is best suited for a guy who's as dynamic with the ball in his hands, like a running back, like Debo Samuel.
803-404-6100. Debo Samuel will most likely, I would assume, is going to make our list of top 30 players in the SEC era, but he's not going to be number 27. That much I can promise you. It's another offensive player, and we'll let you hear up next who that player is. And we'll discuss that a little bit. I'm interested to hear some feedback as you find out who the number 27 player is on our list of top 30 Gamecocks in the SEC era. That comes up next. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
And we do have one accident to let you know about, and that's I-77 northbound, just about a mile before Forest Drive. The right lane is currently blocked due to an accident. Again, that's I-77 northbound, just about a mile before Forest Drive. Going to have to get to the left. The right lane is blocked. Forecast looking pretty decent. Random showers possible today, 92 for the high. And then we'll have a 90-degree day tomorrow, a little less humid. So I feel like Bill Gunner this morning. I can't talk. Right now, 73 at 107.5 The Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by Athletic Greens. One scoop of AG1 has 75 multivitamins to help you start your day off right. Go to athleticgreens.com/CBSAM. It's rare to applaud any international sports governing body these days, but gradually raising the age limit for Olympic-level figure skating competition from 15 to 17 years old seems and feels very smart. Boomer Esiason.
CBS Sports Radio. You can unlock more cash than you realize from your home's equity with a cash-out refinance today. In the last year, average home values have gone up nearly 20%. And with Rocket Mortgage, you can unlock thousands in less than 3 weeks. But you've got to act right now before rates go up. So when you're looking to unlock the cash in your home, Rocket can. Call 833-8ROCKET today or go to rocketmortgage.com to get started.
Rates current as of 12/12/21. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030. Call 800-490-1233 for disclosures and cost information.
A dad in Lowe's feels just like being a kid again. This Father's Day, find prices to treat him to the gifts he craves. Like $60 savings on your choice of a DeWalt 20-volt max brushless drill or impact driver kit. Was $159, now $99. Or an Ego 615 CFM blower. Everyday low price of $199. There's nothing sweeter than Father's Day at Lowe's. Home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, about 6/9 through 6/15.
Sponsored by Taco Bell. Give yourself a new morning routine with the Bell Breakfast Box from Taco Bell. It's filled with a grande toasted breakfast burrito, hash brown, 2 Cinnabon Delights, and a coffee. Swing by participating locations for a limited time only. Drinks excludes freezes.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. That's ziprecruiter.com/radio. ziprecruiter.com/radio.
2006, Ray Tanner's Gamecocks accomplished something that had never been done in an NCAA tournament game. Carolina was playing Georgia in the Athens Super Regional against the Diamond Dogs. Here's Mike Morgan.
Here comes the push. Swing and a drive to deep right toward that scoreboard. Right fielder looks up and away, and it's out of here. The right time. He's now up to 3:06 on the year. 0-2 pitch, swing and a drive. Deep left field. Wyatt will look up and kiss it goodbye. Fisher single to left. 1-0 pitch, swing and a drive. Deep left center field. Are you kidding me? It's out of here. A no-doubter for Disher. His 4th straight game. Righty, here it comes. Fastball driven deep left. This is unbelievable. Wyatt looks up and admires it over the trees. Another home run. That is 4 consecutive, and it is 8-0. Home runs. The pitch. Swing and a drive. Deep right field toward the scoreboard. It clears it. Another long ball.
Final score, South Carolina 15, Georgia 6. And that's our old-timey clip of the day, sponsored by Old Timey Meat Market with 3 locations, Lexington, South Congaree, and St. Andrews Road in Irmo.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Okay, so what is that?
It's the sweet sounds of the ocean, Jen. The sweet sounds of the
I love
ocean.
that. I have no clue what that is.
Well, this is entertaining. Live radio at its finest.
I was to say, this is the. Do we just say who it is, or do we give? Like, I mean,
Well, you
is there
wanna
anything
play
in
a
the? There's
clip
nothing
or
else
two?
in the computer, right? At 8:30 is the thing. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, I'll have to look and see if maybe something is different, but maybe is a
This is not on Jen, by the way.
No,
Let's be very
no.
clear. This is
It's
not.
supposed to just automatically play in the computer. Yeah, it is the
Right.
same thing at 8:30.
It is showing the
Yep.
same thing. Okay. Maybe we let people guess, like play a couple of the highlights that we have.
Do we have highlights?
Yeah,
we
we do.
do. And
Okay.
I've actually heard them, so they will actually play.
Do we want to give hints, or we want
Yeah.
to just play highlights?
Let's play the highlights first.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's do that. This is fun. This is production at its finest. We can go with the flow. We can be fluid here in a program. So little problem with the computer, but Jen is on her A game this morning. So the number 27 player in our countdown of top 30 players. Jen, what's the first highlight we have this morning here? Let's see what we got.
Walensky. Is that caught? It is! Unbelievable catch by Brian Edwards. A jaw-dropping one-hander from Brian Edwards. OBJ, eat your heart out.
What are you laughing about? I knew they was going to say his name.
Well,
That's
I
why I was
figured,
saying,
but
do we
I
want to
thought,
give
well,
hints?
maybe.
I wondered how we were going to do. I mean, look.
Well, I said, do we want to give hints, or do we want to just play the highlight? Obviously, they were going to say who scores a touchdown, then doesn't have their name said in the highlight.
I just figured maybe they cut
they
it so
cut
that you didn't hear. You just said, and he made a touch. Like maybe. we
Yeah,
could've cut
I
it.
didn't know what clip was going to be played. So do people know who it is now? I'm assuming people are. I'm assuming people know it's Brian Edwards and not Ryan Holinsky, right? That was the first thing that happened. I was about to think when they said Ryan Holinsky, I was like, great, people are going to think it's Ryan Holinsky. He's the number 27 player on the list. It is not. It is Brian Edwards this morning. Brian Edwards, the number 27 player on the list of top 30 Gamecocks. And Patrick, again, this is a guy that Brian Edwards, I think as we go through the next several years, is going to be another guy kind of similar to Mike Davis that's going to be wildly underappreciated. But I think unlike J.C. Horn, who didn't have the college stats, Brian Edwards had the college stats and had some, as just like that catch right there, had some career-defining catches. He's just going to be lost because the teams he played on,
not good,
by and large, were atrocious.
Yeah.
22 career touchdowns. Let me give you his stats. 234 career receptions, 3,045 yards receiving, 22 career touchdowns. He also had 6 rushes in his career for 41 yards, but absolutely phenomenal stats for I shouldn't say phenomenal, but absolutely really good. He had a 44 catch season as a freshman, jumped to 64 as a sophomore, 55 as a junior, and then had the huge senior season, 71 catches, 816 yards, and 6 touchdowns that particular year. Had the big game against Alabama. Brian Edwards is a guy that you talk about a lot of great South Carolina wide receivers because he played on a 4-8 team. Probably he's going to get lost a little bit, and because he was in the Will Muschamp era.
But he's really not, because his name's going to be on the stadium forever because he's the all-time receptions leader now.
Well, somebody's going to.
I don't know, because here's the thing about Brian Edwards. He has the perfect combination of being good enough to play as a true freshman, playing in the era of a passing offense and offense coordinators that wanted to pass the ball first and being a pass first offense, and then being really so good enough to play right away and consistently be targeted, but not good enough to bail after his junior year to go to the NFL. So it's like the perfect amount of playing time for him. So then if somebody's going to break it, they're either going to have just 3 years of gaudy numbers, or they're going to be contributing as a freshman and staying for 4 years. So I don't know. I think it might stand for for longer than we think.
234 career touchdown. That would have been impressive.
Yeah,
receptions. That'd have been that stat would have stood forever. 234 career receptions, 3,045 yards, 22 touchdowns, which is pretty solid. 4 touchdowns his freshman year, 5 his sophomore year, 7 his junior year, and 6 his senior year. And again, the one other thing about Brian Edwards is he's got some highlights. I'm trying to think back. The Tennessee catch, I believe that's the one we just played.
There's the, what do we do? The 75-yarder. We played the one-handed catch, right?
That was the one-handed catch.
75-yarder. Was that like the screen pass in Missouri? Was that one of them? Wasn't there a screen he took to the house against Missouri?
I believe so. I want to say early second half. And that's Brian Edwards. And that's the other thing about Brian Edwards. He had some longer touchdown
There were some
catches and
plays
runs.
his senior year. Well, it was this was 2 years in a row that it happened with Brian and then Shy, because we said, okay, well, Debo's gone, and that was your playmaker, and you need a true number one guy, and we're not sure if Brian Edwards is ready to be that guy. And then he was every bit of that guy. And then the next year was like, all right, well, Brian Edwards is gone. The big possession receiver is gone. Is Shy ready to be the number one guy? And he was absolutely ready to be that guy. So, I mean, in hindsight, that receiver room, I mean, we knew it was special, but with Debo, Brian Edwards, and Shy Smith all in the same receiver room, and Hayden Hurst out there, it was really a special set of pass catchers.
Yeah, you go back to that 2018 team for South Carolina, and you look at the wide receiving group, and it was Debo Samuel, Brian Edwards, and Shy Smith. And we'll see if Shy Smith really makes more of an impact in the NFL this year with the Panthers. Obviously, we were just talking about Debo Samuel, and the reason we were doing that was kind of leading up to the Brian Edwards announcement there. But Edwards, this was the 2018 year in which South Carolina lost to Virginia in the bowl game. But Brian Edwards had 55 catches. Debo had 62 that year. Brian Edwards had 55 catches. Debo had 11 touchdown receptions. Edwards had 7. That offense was not as bad as I think some people tend to try and remember those offenses. That was a Brian McClendon coached. That was a Brian McClendon coached offense that particular year for South Carolina. And certainly, you would have some things that kind of worked in South Carolina's favor there. But then you go to 2019. You go to the 2019 season, and again, that was the 4-8 season. The other thing about the 2019 season, Patrick, I think that I don't know. How do you think having a freshman quarterback in Ryan Hilinski, because there's two sides to look at. One, Hilinski, he's a freshman, so he locks on basically to his top target every time, because that year Edwards had 71 catches, Shy Smith with 43. So he almost doubles up. He's close to doubling up the next closest guy.
But it also wasn't like, hey, there's a freshman quarterback, so we're just going to run the ball and get him comfortable. Like, no, he's going to throw the ball 50 times.
Yeah. The Alabama
against
game.
Alabama.
Yeah, the Alabama game. But I go back, you've got Hilinski, who's a freshman, and you go, okay, well, the good news for Brian in terms of receptions is he's locking onto his number one guy. Very smart to do. The downside is, well, he's a freshman. He's having to learn and play defenses and figure everything out on the fly, and that makes it a little bit difficult as opposed to if Jake Bentley had maybe stayed healthy the entire year.
Yeah, and he was being covered by number one corners too, so you have to give him credit for that. I mean, I'm not sure. Does it? Whatever you look at, it doesn't show targets, does it? I don't know if they have that stat. I don't even know if they have that stat in college football. Because
No,
in the
I don't-
NFL, they have that. You can see receptions per target. But
Yeah, I don't have it on either of the list, either of the statistics.
he was
that I'm looking at.
sure-handed too. I mean, Craig mentions he returned punts. Well, the only reason he returned punts is because he was the only person that Will Muschamp trusted to catch the punt. Like most of them were fair catches or just short little things. So it wasn't necessarily dynamic, but he was just consistently catching them. Richard says on the text line, the way I can tell, it's going to be a lot of really good Carolina players left off this list. And yes, it is. But I don't know how you keep the all-time receptions leader in program history off the list. So I think Brian Edwards definitely deserves to be on there.
I agree. 803-404-6100. Marshall weighs in on the text line. And he says the most memorable play by Brian Edwards. He says, we lost the game, but early in the game, he was being run out of bounds with the ball in his hand, and he straight up body slammed one of the Alabama kids. And I remember that. It was like an end around type handoff, and Edwards, I think, was running from the Gamecock sideline over towards the Alabama sideline, and it looked like Alabama had him stopped dead cold. Instead, Edwards turned it upfield, and I think one hand slammed an Alabama defender to the ground and picked up about 6 or 7 yards. And you went, he came to play today. He is fired up to be here. But Brian Edwards, your number 27 player on the Gamecock countdown of top 30 players of the SEC era. We'll continue talking about this. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Want to go see the Columbia Fireflies? Be listening for your chance to win tickets all this week on 107.5 The Game.
After being almost $500,000 in tax debt, I was listening to the radio one day and heard a ad for John Ecton Law Firm. So I gave him a call and met with him, and he gave me the confidence to trust him after the reason behind my tax problems anyways was trusting someone I probably should have never trusted. He did everything he said he was going to do, and then some. His staff at the office were great, very knowledgeable. With John's help, I have no tax debt now, and I was able to have a family that otherwise I would have never been able to have.
It's great to know we have changed people's lives for the better. Hi, this is local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. For over a decade, our office has been dedicated to helping hardworking individuals and businesses solve tax problems for good. So if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call our office today at 771-9800 or go to EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Let's get your tax problem solved for good. Call today. You'll be glad you did.
It's big. It's primal. It's the new Jurassic-inspired breakfast menu now at Hardee's. Slow-cooked sliced prime rib, fluffy eggs and melty cheese, covered in zesty amber barbecue sauce. You can get it on a burrito. You can get it on a made-from-scratch biscuit. Or you can get up on the counter and grab it like a dinosaur, but please don't. Bite into the new Jurassic-inspired primal breakfast menu only at Hardee's. Feed your happy. See Jurassic World Dominion in theaters June 10th. Available for limited time at participating Hardee's restaurants during regular breakfast hours. Price and participation may vary. Rated PG-13. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13.
Are you looking for a summer camp for your 5 to 14-year-old? Wouldn't you love for them to experience the lifetime sports of golf, tennis, and swimming? Then the Wide World of Sports Summer Camp at the Windermere Club is just the camp for you. Windermere has 8 weekly Monday through Friday sessions to choose from, beginning June 6th through the week of August 5th. Windermere Camp offers half-day camps 9 to noon, half-day with lunch and pool 9 to 2, and full day 9 to 4. Also available. No rainouts, no equipment necessary. Windermere supplies the rackets, golf clubs, curriculum, and instruction. All campers get t-shirts and swim and hit for prizes every Friday. The Wide World of Sports Summer Camp at the Windermere Club, a once-in-a-lifetime experience you can revisit year after year. Please visit www.camp.org. That's www.camp.org. Give your child the best. The Windermere Club Summer Camp. Register now.
Hon, look, it's heartburn.
He's going to try and ruin our vacation.
Don't worry. I pack Prilosec OTC. One pill in the morning prevents excess acid production that can cause frequent heartburn.
Nice. Aloha, heartburn.
Block heartburn from your summer bucket list with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Don't wait until you have heartburn to start Prilosec OTC. Kick your summer off right and look for Prilosec OTC at Walmart or Walmart.com.
If you have a small business, Staples has your sign.
Banners for my bakery?
Staples has your sign.
Oh, posters for my new pet store.
Floor decals for a pharmacy.
Every day, Staples associates help every kind of small business create bold signs to make big impressions. And now get $10 off custom signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. This is your sign, so print it big at Staples. N72. Visit staplesconnect.com/thisisyoursign for details.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
(803-404-6100) how you can weigh in this morning. The number 27 player in our countdown of top 30 players of the SEC era for South Carolina is wide receiver Brian Edwards, originally from Conway, South Carolina, committed to Steve Spurrier and the South Carolina staff, and Will Muschamp and his staff during that transition was able to hold on to him, Patrick. A lot of discussion back then. Clemson recruited Brian Edwards but wanted him to be a safety, and Clemson had recruited really well at the wide receiver position, had some guys ahead of him on their board. They made a push for him late in the process when there was the transition from Spurrier to Sean Elliott to Will Muschamp. But Will Muschamp, that was a big recruiting weekend for him. I still remember Brian Edwards and
TJ
Brunson, but they brought in another wide receiver. What was the other Ridley brother? I'm trying to think.
Riley.
Or is it Riley who went to Georgia?
Yeah.
Riley Ridley came in and initially Riley Ridley shocked everybody and committed to South Carolina. And you thought, okay, you got Ridley and you got Brian Edwards. That's a pretty good start there for rebuilding the wide receiving core. At that moment, Deebo Samuel had the really good Clemson game in Sean Elliott's final game, but Deebo Samuel was still pretty much an unknown. He was still kind of an unknown guy, and Brian Edwards was coming in, and Edwards started the Vanderbilt game in Muschamp's first game, had a monster game as a freshman, came right out of the gate with a 100-yard game in his first game ever for South Carolina. I was trying to pull exactly what it was. I want to say it was something around 8 catches for 114 yards for Brian Edwards against Vanderbilt in Will Muschamp's first win of his South Carolina career. But Edwards obviously would go on, you mentioned it, to become the all-time receptions leader for South Carolina at 234 receptions. That opener, that first game, our buddy Perry Orth was the quarterback. Orth was 11 of 19 in that game, Patrick. He had 152 yards. Brian Edwards had 8 receptions, 101 of those yards. So
2/3 of the offense.
11 passes completed by Perry Orth, 8 went to Brian Edwards, and he had some monster catches down the stretch. I think there was one in the fourth quarter there that led to the game-winning field goal by South Carolina, but certainly ended up being really good. And South Carolina's produced a lot of really good wide receivers. Troy Williamson, as a college receiver, was really good. Then you move on to Sidney Rice. Obviously, Alshon Jeffrey. Kenny McKinley was a guy who was really good. These guys who would go on. Troy Williamson's NFL career was not all that, but South Carolina's had a lot of really good wide receivers through the years. Brian Edwards, as you mentioned, all-time leading reception guy at South Carolina, and his really, I think if he'd have played under Steve Spurrier, would be remembered and would be a lot higher on this list. But playing under Will Muschamp, yeah. I honestly think playing under Will Muschamp is going to hurt some players on this list.
But they still made the list. I mean, and the stats are going to be impossible. They're going to be impossible to cover up, and that's what he's always going to have. If you just look at the record books, he's always going to be there. Whether he gets passed eventually, he's still going to be near the top, and that's just maybe he'll get more credit, because a lot of these guys I've seen people commenting about the NFL careers and how I think they are influencing the votes, whether we like it or not, whether it's part of the spirit of the game or not. We didn't vote. We put the names out there and the fans voted. Brian Edwards struggled to catch on in the NFL so far. Not catch on, he's been fine, but now he's been traded to Atlanta, and he's possibly going to be the number one receiver there. I mean, we'll see how long Drake London is out, their number 8 overall pick. He's coming off a torn ACL, so if he's slow to get ready, Brian Edwards is going to be the number one receiver next to Kyle Pitts, and hopefully he can have sort of a resurgence and more of a little bit closer to home.
Anonymous texter weighs in, and this is to your point that you just brought up, Patrick. Anonymous texter says, not buying Edwards over JC. Edwards was a great player, but JC was a top 10 pick. But I don't think you can question, and this is where, remember, again, us here at 107.5 The Game did not, we offered the names that you could select from, and not only the names you could select from, but you also had the ability to do write-in votes. We didn't make the list. It was voted upon. But to that point, you're right. I don't think anybody would argue that statistically speaking, Brian Edwards didn't have the better, if you different positions, and I don't know,
more impactful.
I was going to say, I don't know how you would compare Edwards and JC Horn. It is interesting in two guys from the Muschamp era, but when he says that, yeah, JC Horn probably was the better pro prospect.
Yeah.
He was just better pro prospect, but I don't know if JC Horn had the college impact that a number 8 draft pick should have had, whereas Brian Edwards had a pretty significant impact on the South Carolina offense. And you can make the case, I mean, there's more than one game South Carolina does not win without Brian Edwards as a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, it is difficult wide receiver versus corner because a great corner can be taken out of a game by just not being targeted, whereas a great wide receiver is going to have to fight through double teams and things like that. And Brian Edwards definitely did. I mean, he was clearly the go-to guy, and he still continued to put up numbers no matter what, and took it to a level that I didn't even know he was capable of. And especially his long speed was really impressive towards the end in his senior year. I was impressed by that.
The speed certainly seemed to pick up. 803-404-6100. John weighs in and said, Edwards, absolute beast, all hands team, seemingly 1 or 2 circus catches a game, should be higher on the list. So let me ask this, 803-404-6100, your own personal wide receiver list. We never really got into this in the last few weeks. South Carolina's had some really good wide receivers during its SEC run. Let me give you the names that we had here. Ace Sanders, Jermell Kelly, Shi Smith, Brian Edwards, Deebo Samuel, Pharaoh Cooper, Alshon Jeffrey, Kenny McKinley, Sidney Rice, Troy Williamson, Zola Davis. Some of those you don't know. 803-404-6100. I'm fascinated to hear you rank your top 3 wide receivers of the SEC era. I'm fascinated to hear this because I don't know how I would rank them at this point in time. Jermell Kelly was really good, but played on some bad teams and is going to get punished for that. Brian Edwards.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There are going to be some people like tomorrow. I'm just not going to have a file on some of these people.
I don't know. You already know tomorrow's?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at the list right now.
Okay. Kenny McKinley, I feel like we are pushing aside more and more and more for the big-bodied guys like Sidney Rice and Alshon Jeffrey. Brian Edwards is another guy that would maybe push Kenny, but Kenny McKinley was so good. Troy Williamson as a college receiver was pretty good. Sidney Rice, I feel like we're getting older than him. Richard, please, we got to understand, SEC era. Sterling Sharp did not play in the SEC. He's got Sidney Rice and Alshon Jeffrey. He also has Sterling Sharp. Is Sidney Rice, Sterling Sharp, and Alshon Jeffrey in that order. Richard, would SEC. Remember, SEC only here, 1992. Sterling Sharp was prior. So give me the guys that I just said. That's what I'm kind of interested because, by the way, Richard, I would have had Sterling Sharp.
Number 1.
I would actually have Sterling Sharp and Robert Brooks probably ahead of these guys. I mean, that's a whole other conversation for other days in terms when you start throwing in Sterling Sharp and Robert Brooks, who went on to really good NFL careers in this list. But we're just doing since 92 on. So if you go just the SEC era, who have you got? 803-404-6100. Give me your top 3 wide receivers of the SEC era. I'm interested to see if Brian Edwards makes it on the list because you've got.
He won't make it in people's top 3s.
He might. I don't.
You might have to go to top 5.
I'm going off of the last 2 text messages, or the last 3 text messages, with the one anonymous texter saying not buying Edwards over JC. And then the next guy, John, saying Edwards absolute beast and should be higher on the list. I think you're going to get I think you're going to get an interesting feedback on that. Your top 3 wide receivers of the SEC era. It's Bill Gunner, it's Patrick Perrette, and it's Jen Jensen. We are not the top 3 wide receivers. We're just the people doing the early game here on 107.5 The Game. We'll get to your list when we come back. Again, Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next Game Time.
Hey, it's Heath. Coming up on Thursday, we will check in with what happened on Game 3 of the NBA Finals. It's number 27 in the Listener Top 30 SEC Countdown. And what's the PGA Tour going to do about the Live Boys? We will see you at 3 o'clock.
Game Time with Heath Klein. 3 to 6 p.m. on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
The summer vacation time officially upon us, and it's time to take some of those trips you've been wanting to take. And you start by making sure you have a reliable vehicle. And at Love Chevrolet, they've been taking care of people here in the Midlands for over 60 years, and they do it with great prices, the $1,000 low price guarantee, meaning you can shop other dealerships and take their deal back to the folks at Love Chevy. They do it with an incredible selection of vehicles, 14 acres of brand new Chevys from which you can choose from. But they also do it with incredible customer service. The way they treat you from the second you come onto the lot looking for that new vehicle to the second you leave excited about your brand new purchase. They're not going to harass you. They're not going to bother you. They're going to give you information that helps you make an informed purchase. And that's the way it should be. Great customer service leading you to feel comfortable with an important purchase in your life. So go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Find out why they have taken care of the Midlands for 60-plus years, because they do it the right way. They treat you the way you should be treated when you're making an important decision in your life. Again, Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
And just have a residual impact of an earlier accident. I-77 northbound before Forest Drive, the right lane continues to be blocked as they work to clear up that accident. Forecast for today, few showers, 92 for the high, less humid tomorrow, and looking for a high of 90. But just a really nice start to the morning. 74 right now at 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Churches.
The smoke is back at Churches. Our $6 smokehouse chicken meal is a juicy half chicken served with mashed potatoes and a honey butter biscuit. All that for just $6, but not for long. Churches, welcome to the great state of flavor. Offer valid at participating locations.
Life matters. President Reagan once had a hard time convincing his staff that an unpopular plan should be kept on the table for future discussion. His staff told him, "Mr. President, the American people don't see this issue the way you do, and you can't force it down their throats." To him, it was not a political issue. It was a matter of morals, of profound right and wrong. "I don't want to force it," the president said. "I want to work harder to convince them that this thing is right." Ronald Reagan knew something that most people forget. In most of the battle stories of the Bible, God was on the side of the underdog. Reagan knew that you can't wait for consensus to do what's right. You don't wait until obedience to God is fashionable before you change your life. This is Pastor Stephen Chitty from Christian Life. Remember, life matters, and so do you. Go to clcolumbia.com for in-person and live streaming service times.
Hey, Scott here for Traditions Fine Jewelers. One of the things I love about the jewelry business is that each item we sell will have a story, a moment, or some type of history with it in the future. For us, it's not just about selling jewelry. Because jewelry is lasting, Traditions Fine Jewelers also takes great pride in helping you keep your jewelry looking its best. This is why we have an on-site jeweler who's been in the business over 25 years. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we've saved many heartbreaks and costly repairs with our jewelry cleaning service. It's quick and easy, and best of all, it's free. Unfortunately, accidents do happen. In those cases, our staff will take care in inspecting, analyzing, and professionally helping you get your jewelry repaired and looking as new as possible. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we'll retip, resize, or solder your jewelry and have it back to you fast, too. We offer one of the quickest turnarounds in Columbia. So bring your jewelry in and let us help you keep it looking its very best whenever you want to wear it. Traditions Fine Jewelers, 5134 Sunset Boulevard, or a new location at Sandhills by the Fountain. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
Hi, everybody. This is Woody Wyndham here to talk about Pioneer Tree Service. Pioneer Tree Service has more than 4 decades of helping homeowners maintain and manage trees on their property. Their skilled crew offers customized solutions that match your needs and budget. Tree trimming and tree removal can be dangerous. You need to trust the people that are doing the job. Before attempting to remove limbs, call Pioneer Tree Service for a free quote. They remove limbs safely and make sure that future growth is directed away from potential trouble areas such as roof lines and driveways. Cutting down trees takes more than a chainsaw. Even branches can weigh thousands of pounds, and their removal must be handled with care. Pioneer Tree Service offers a full complement of state-of-the-art heavy equipment, from track hose to bucket trucks, to safely remove trees and stumps from your property. And no matter where you live, the Gantt girls can get there. And I want you to call them at 803-794-8253.
Since 1964, Gateway Supply has been the Midland's leader in plumbing and HVAC supply, and now, of course, they are statewide with more than 15 locations all across South Carolina. Their showrooms are filled with bath and kitchen fixtures from classic to modern styles. Now, tap and touchless faucets. You can even talk to your kitchen sink. See them at Hamrick Street near the Fairgrounds in Williams-Brice, or Highway 6 and Whiteford Way in Lexington. Design services, expert advice for customers and contractors alike. Visit them online at gatewaysupply.net.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game
With Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret, and Jen Jensen.
on your home of the Gamecocks.
1075 The Game.
Final segment of the 7 o'clock hour coming up in an hour. In the 8 o'clock hour coming up in about an hour. We'll be joined by our good buddy Kerry Tharp, Darlington Raceway, and we will get our picks in there for NASCAR. We were asking you, what is South Carolina's had good wide receivers. Obviously, they've had some great wide receivers. Alshon Jeffrey doing a great job in the NFL. Brian Edwards got off to a good job this year, or a good start. Deebo Samuel's been fantastic in the NFL. Sidney Rice had a nice career in the NFL. Kenny McKinley was kind of rolling along there. But if you go back and you rank, and I'm fascinated by this, Patrick. So let's go through a couple of these. Some of them you're going to know, some of them you're not. But I'm fascinated to know. And honestly, if you want to throw him into the wide receiving conversation, I don't know what his career wide receiving numbers are. I don't know if he knows. You honestly kind of throw Savell Newton in there if you wanted to. I mean, you could. Where and how we label Savell, it's $1 million question. But Savell Newton was a pretty solid wide receiver himself. I think he caught. I remember a big touchdown catch against Mississippi. I know he caught one against Vanderbilt. The Mississippi game was under Lou Holtz, though. But you go back and you think about Savell and what he did for the program, and he was a guy that certainly maybe you could throw on that list as far as wide receivers. But again, that list that I'm giving to you here this morning, what we had: Zola Davis, Troy Williamson, Sidney Rice, Kenny McKinley, Alshon Jeffrey, Pharaoh Cooper, Deebo Samuel, Brian Edwards, Shi Smith, Jamel Kelly, Ace Sanders is that list. And I real quickly am just looking here at Savell's career numbers.
I got him. You want him?
Yeah, let's see if it matches up with what I'm looking at here.
I saw 61 receptions, 673 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, 61 receptions in what we would call limited time there, or splitting time all over the field for South Carolina is actually pretty. I've got him for 39 receptions.
What?
You're talking about Savell, right?
Yeah.
I've got, unless I'm missing a year, which I feel like I am. It'd have to be maybe what I'm.
He had 39 his junior and senior year.
Yeah, the ESPN stats don't give me his receptions for
2003
or 4.
Yeah, there was no receiving stats in 2004.
Okay. Just okay. I'm with
Just
you.
2003.
Yeah, doesn't ESPN must not go back that far. So thank you for that. So you had how many receptions for Savell?
61.
61. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so you could throw him in there again. Obviously, Savell Newton. I don't know if he's going to be on the list or not, but should be. So you got that list. So let's go through. Dave asked to go in. Brian Scott. Yeah, Brian Scott was a really good wide receiver too, and wasn't even on our list. A couple of you weighing in. Let's go through some of these here. Anonymous texter, Sidney Rice, Alshon Jeffrey, Kenny McKinley said that's the clear cut top 3. Another anonymous texter says top 3 solely based on Gamecock career in no order. Sidney, Kenny McKinley, and Alshon. Ron from Lake Marion, Kenny McKinley at 1, Alshon Jeffrey at 2, Deebo Samuel at 3. Patrick, I got to admit, there's probably going to be some people who put Deebo Samuel in their top 3 wide receivers. I wouldn't be one of those people. I think Deebo's I will remember Deebo Samuel more for as a return guy than a wide receiver, but obviously he had some incredible catches and in some incredible runs.
Do you put Deebo above Ace? Because he was a better receiver.
He's a better return guy too. I mean
he was better
Deebo's probably the best. Conceivably, it's Sterling Sharp and Deebo Samuel's best return guys ever. I don't care about Chris Culliver's return yardage on kickoffs. Probably Sterling Sharp and Deebo Samuel are the best 2 return guys ever to play at the University of South Carolina. But let me go through a couple more of these because a lot of you weighed in. Adam saying Alshon Jeffrey, Brian Edwards, Sidney Rice. So you get a vote there for Brian Edwards jumping in there. Just a few more day weighing in. It says if I'm doing the best 3, I'm going Alshon, Sidney Rice, and he's putting Deebo in there as well.
That's exactly what my list would be.
You would go with
Alshon 1, Sidney Rice 2, Deebo 3.
Okay. Let's get.
And I don't even really remember Sidney Rice too much at South Carolina. That's mostly an NFL thing for me.
Cocky
and the
Mike.
number. Looking at the numbers.
Cocky Mike saying Sidney Rice, Alshon Jeffrey, and he had Troy Williamson at number 3. He had Troy ahead of Deebo, Brian Edwards, and Kenny McKinley. Another anonymous texter coming with Sidney Rice, Alshon, and Kenny McKinley. South Carolina's produced some good wide receivers. And Patrick, we're going to go into this year. Josh Vann has got a chance to, I think, move up that list by stacking a second year onto what he was able to do last year. I think that's going to be very interesting. Juice Wells is a guy that, man, is getting a lot of publicity and a lot of attention, and a lot of people think he's got a chance to be really good. Corey Rucker is coming in from Arkansas.
We're going to consider Jaheim Bell a tight end, right?
It's a good question as to how, when this season finishes, how we will view Jaheim Bell. I'm kind of with you there on how we go back and view Jaheim Bell, because a lot of discussion that he's going to spend more with Austin Stogner coming in. Jaheim Bell will be lining up more in the traditional wide receiver spot.
Well, and then if he's probably not going to get drafted as a tight end in the NFL when he does become draft eligible, because he's just undersized. Like he just in the NFL, he's not going to have his hand on the ground blocking people. He's not big enough.
Yeah, and again, we will see as this year, because you talk about all these guys that we're looking back on through the years, and Josh Vann, just to give you a little bit of background on Vann, just to make sure, just to kind of give you an idea of where he stands as I sit here and try and get to his 2022 stats. Vann last year had 43 catches, 679 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That was a typical Shi Smith type year until Smith had his breakout year in 2021 there in the COVID season. But in 2020 during the COVID season. But it'll be interesting to see. Again, you can continue to send those in. Your top 3 wide receivers. Brian Edwards, our number 27 player in our countdown of top 30 Gamecocks of the SEC era. But giving you a list of those wide receivers, how would you rank the top 3? A lot of you go with Alshon and Sidney at 1 and 2. We will continue talking about that, get back into a little bit of live golf, talk a little bit of, the Denver Broncos, Patrick. You wanted to get into that. They're going to have some new owners.
That owner has a lot of money.
That owner has a lot of money.
He has a famous name.
Has a famous name, a lot of money. Most owners have a lot of money.
You've been to a store.
There you go. Patrick's doing a great job of teasing. We'll talk about that. Plenty to get to. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station.
Hi, my name is John, and I'm self-employed, and we got sidetracked on our taxes at the 2008 recession, and it became a monster that we couldn't tackle ourselves. We heard about the Ecton Law Firm on the radio and contacted John. If you could classify someone as a miracle worker, I would put him at the top of the list because he took our problem and resolved it for us with our not only our unpaid taxes, but our unfiled tax returns from previous years. And I would highly recommend the Ecton Law Firm.
It's great to know we have changed people's lives for the better. Hi, this is local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. For over a decade, our office has been dedicated to helping hardworking individuals and businesses solve tax problems for good. So if you have years of unfiled tax returns or are facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call our office today at 771-9800 or go to EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Let's get your tax problem solved for good. Call today. You'll be glad you did.
Uneven sidewalks, pool decks, or patios? Canty can repair them for just a fraction of the cost of replacement. Call Canty Foundation Specialists today for your free estimate.
Canty can fix it.
Uneven concrete can be a dangerous tripping hazard leading to injury. Call the experts at Canty to permanently repair your sinking or cracked concrete. Call 753-1495 or visit CantyCanFixIt.com. Canty can fix it.
It's the Love Chevrolet countdown to Gamecock football.
86 days till kickoff.
Why buy just any old used car when you can have the advantages of the Love Chevy certified pre-owned? See yours today. Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, and at lovechevy.com.
The future will be amazing, and that's all well and good. But what about today? You can feel the rush of a 400-horsepower Nissan Z, or climb to new heights in the all-terrain Nissan Frontier. Light up the road in the all-electric Nissan Ariya that feels like a sci-fi dream come true. The future will be great, but today is made for thrill. All you have to do is get in a Nissan and drive. 2023 Ariya and Z not yet available for purchase. Expected availability is this spring for 2023 Z and this fall for 2023 Ariya.
Now, local businesses can get closer to every customer in their city with fast, affordable shipping. Introducing USPS Connect Local. You want speed? We deliver same or next day. You want savings? We give you supplies at a flat rate. You want less legwork? We do free pickups. Move your local business forward with the United States Postal Service. Let's connect at USPSconnect.com/local. Specific markets, restrictions apply. Same day or next day delivery expected, but not guaranteed with entry close to final destination.
Hi, I'm Connie Britton. I support Feeding America because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. It's Truck Month, and that means the biggest savings of the year. And none of the price hiking add-ons. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com.
The early game with Bill Gunter.
But we have a horse costume that we get in. I need somebody for the rear end. How about it, Bill? Come on over.
He's the rear end of the show every morning.
Patrick Perret.
There's a 0% chance that I will have a full wedding.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for your.
There's a 0% chance that will happen.
The future Mrs. Perret to put her foot down and
she can try. My feet are bigger. Guaranteed.
And Jen Jensen.
William Byron referring to Joey Logano, Jen, as a moron and an idiot.
Yeah, standard.
Vocabulary straight out of the Jen Jensen playbook right there when not happy with how something ends.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
Final hour of the program. Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret. Jen is off to an appointment, so it'll be just us two if you want to weigh in. 803-404-6100 talking wide receivers this morning as Brian Edwards, our number 27 player on our list of top 30 Gamecocks of the SEC era, which has led Patrick and I to discussing the top 3 wide receivers. If you were ranking them of the SEC era, where would you have a Brian Edwards? A lot of you, Patrick, a lot of people, and I think you were with this, in some form or fashion, having Alshon Jeffrey and Sidney Rice 1 and 2. That seems to be the consensus. A couple people going, Chuck on our live stream has Debo at number 2. A couple people throwing in a couple different names there too. But by and large, consensus is Alshon and Sidney Rice in some form or fashion of 1 and 2. And then after that, it starts to get a little iffy. Brian Edwards has been mentioned. Troy Williamson has been mentioned. Debo Samuel gets mentioned. A couple of you gone with Kenny McKinley. So it feels like there's, Patrick, a set 1 and 2. It's after that where you start to maybe break into something that's a little bit different as far as the third wide receiver. Pharaoh Cooper was really good as well and doesn't get mentioned quite as much. Bruce Ellington, I don't think made the list, but Bruce Ellington, a very solid wide receiver as well.
Of the people that I saw all the time, I do think Pharaoh's flies under the radar just because he was, I don't know. He's not like super similar to Debo, but in the sense of not on at the end of his career, not on great teams, and Debo came right after him, and Debo was probably a little bit better than him and just super dynamic as a returner, even though Pharaoh was still an all-pro punt returner or kick returner. I think we do kind of forget about him, and he didn't have great quarterback play either. So I don't know. I don't think Pharaoh comes into the top 5 or top 3, but I think he should get more love.
The thing with Cooper, the interesting thing about Cooper is he's only really got 2 years of body of work. One of them was with Dylan Thompson in that prolific offense in 2014. And in that season, he had 69 receptions for 1,136 yards and 9 touchdowns. It was the next year when Thompson graduated and you had the Connor Mitch, Lorenzo Nunez, Perry Orth year. He still had 66 catches for 973 yards and 8 touchdowns. He's got almost a 2-year resume. His resume is very similar to that of Mike Davis, who made the list, because Cooper really was kind of a 2. Then he goes off to the NFL. But Cooper really, I mean, he's an interesting, because his statistically speaking, and I don't know if Cooper's on the list or not. He would be on my list. But when you start talking about breaking down some of these guys on that list, Cooper might deserve to be in some people's top 3 there with what he did. We're talking wide receivers, because also Pharaoh Cooper was not a bad returner. He had 15 punt returns in 2014 for 75 yards, 12 in 2015 for 55 yards. Again, not a bad return guy, not on the same level as a Debo Samuel. But Patrick, I mean, you could make the case that Pharaoh, based on his, and I feel like now I'm really leaning on the Spurrier way of saying Pharaoh. But you feel like Cooper could very easily be mentioned there as one of those top 3 guys, along with a Debo, along with a McKinley, along with Shi Smith or some of the other guys mentioned.
I mean, that was my first year at Carolina, was the Connor Mitch, Lorenzo Nunez, Perry Orth year. So he was the star of the team when I got there. He was like one of the few players that I was like, yeah, that's an NFL guy right there. So I'm definitely inclined to lean towards Pharaoh as a fringe top 5 guy. Top 3 is just rarefied air at that point, and I'm trying to convince myself that I'm being a little too just remembering him in the NFL these past couple years, and just remembering some of the big plays I saw live. But I can't convince myself that definitely Brian Edwards and Pharaoh Cooper. I just can't convince myself that either of them were better than Debo. I think I'm kind of locked into Debo at number 3.
Are you? Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, you look at it, Cheney disagreeing with you, says you're adding in the NFL career stats. I don't – Debo's interesting.
All right, but that's fair. I mean, it's not even stats, it's just performance. But if you're saying Brian Edwards is clearly better than Debo, you're just probably factoring in college stats. Like, what does Brian – I don't want to. Well, it is Brian just Edwards. Like, Brian Edwards' college stats were better, so that doesn't make him a better receiver, though.
Well, but I mean, that's what this is about. To me, that's
it's not about
what
stats, though. I mean,
well, no. But it's about what they did in college, where you rank them when we're discussing their impact on the University of South Carolina when they were here. Marcus Robinson, we did this. Remember Marcus Robinson? I've talked about him.
Yeah.
Marcus Robinson went on to a great NFL career, a pretty extended NFL career, and had, I think, 1 or 2 phenomenal seasons with the Bears. Really didn't do that much at the University of South Carolina. Marcus Robinson, if you started breaking down, if we go through this list of NFL guys, Marcus Robinson in the NFL, Patrick, has just, I'm looking and I'm trying to do this very quickly. Marcus Robinson had a better NFL career than Troy Williamson. He's had a better NFL career than Pharaoh Cooper. He's had a better NFL career. Brian Edwards is still very young. Marcus Robinson, in terms of NFL career, is very similar to Sidney Rice. You could make the case that post-college, Marcus Robinson is a top 3 wide receiver from the University of South Carolina in the SEC era. And that's a crazy thing to say because I guarantee you, most people listening this morning, especially if you're 30 or younger, you have no clue who Marcus Robinson is.
Correct.
Like who is that guy? Who are y'all discussing? And you go look at Marcus Robinson's NFL career, and he did very little at the University of South Carolina.
I think my top 3 probably are the top 3 most prolific NFL receivers, though. Too. When I say Alshon, Sidney Rice, and then Debo, that probably is the top 3 as NFL players. Because Sidney Rice was great in Seattle. He played for Minnesota too. Alshon was at his peak was phenomenal.
Yes.
Helped win the Eagles the Super Bowl, and then Debo obviously was an All-Pro last year. But I mean, when we said Brian Edwards won, there were games that South Carolina does not win without South Carolina. Were there more of those than there were for Debo though? Because like some of the moments I remember, I mean, they don't win NC State without Debo and the return touchdown. They don't beat Ole Miss without Debo taking the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. There were so many games where Debo just made the play.
Well, and again, now we go deep into the semantics of what we're discussing here, because if you say, if there's going to be those people that are going to say, well, wait a minute, we're just discussing wide receivers. I think somebody hit us up on the text line and basically
overall player. I don't
just
know.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of you weighing in.
But isn't that like saying that so and so is a better running back, or like Derrick Henry's a better running back than Christian McCaffrey because we're not factoring in him catching the ball? Or do you just strictly say anything? We're not talking about returns at all because it's not part of the wide receiver position. But he's still, I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah. Look.
I still think Debo's better at playing the wide receiver position than Brian Edwards was, though.
Do you?
Yeah. Just because he's so dynamic. Because anytime he touches the ball, it could be a touchdown.
So I'm going to tell you this. Debo did not have a year. Now, he had more touchdowns. 2018, he had 11. But in terms of receptions and in terms of yardage, none of his years
touched Brian's
compared to Pharaoh Cooper.
Oh. I do love Pharaoh Cooper.
Cooper.
I feel like we're almost just too far away from Pharaoh Cooper's career.
Well, I just think Cooper's career ended. Cooper
for the team.
Statistically had a good finish to his career. Statistically speaking, Pharaoh Cooper had a very good finish to his career. That 3-9 team and Spurrier leaving in the middle of it and going through Connor Mitch and Lorenzo Nunez and Perry Worth, which actually Perry obviously came on and helped that team. But the way that season ended and then the transition and everything, Pharaoh Cooper, I think you're right, gets kind of lost in the mix. And also Pharaoh followed some really good receivers and even some guys like a Damiere Byrd. Damiere Byrd's not on this list, and Damiere Byrd has gone on to a solid NFL career.
Yeah.
Solid. I'm not look, I'm not trying to sell anybody that he's going to be an all,
he's still in the NFL,
exactly.
Which says something by itself.
And so, you can put and Trey says, what do you do with Bruce Ellington? It's a good question there as we talk SEC wide receivers. And as you can hear, as you can tell, you get into this. South Carolina's done a good job of producing wide receivers over the last 30 years. And certainly as we get into this discussion and you can look at it and kind of go back and forth. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. Day does point out Pharaoh had arguably the best quarterback of any SEC, I think talking about South Carolina player, any SEC player with Thompson. I don't know. Thompson was good. Steve Tannehill.
But that's completely canceled out by his
junior year. Yeah, where the quarterback situation that year rivaled what happened this year with who was it? Nolan, Doty, and Brown.
What was a worse year?
Well, I mean, that year you played a 4-star recruit in Connor Mitch, 4-star recruit in Luke Doty. That year you played a true freshman in Lorenzo Nunez. I don't know if
quite the opposite of a true freshman in Zeb Nolan.
And then you had Jason Brown. Is Jason Brown the equivalent of a Perry Orth? just in terms of what you're
I
getting.
do find it hard to just say this was miserable and you had to start Jason Brown when Jason Brown beat Florida and Auburn.
Oh, South Carolina doesn't play in a bowl game without Jason Brown.
It's hard to make it's hard to argue that he was like you had terrible quarterback play when he did that, but still we knew what we were working with.
803-404-6100. Just interesting conversation. If you want to weigh in on that, we'll get back into some NBA discussion. Draymond Green, is this the series where we all just completely realize we dislike Draymond Green? Because I feel like he had done some stuff to maybe become a little bit more of a fan favorite. But is this, Patrick, where Draymond Green is drawing a line in the sand where we now will despise him and he will become one of the most disliked NBA players of this era? We'll talk about that. We'll continue with this discussion this morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. A lot to get to here. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
What's coming up
on the next halftime show.
Hey guys, it's Jay and Terry. Coming up on the Thursday halftime show, we will be talking about player number 27 in our top 30 favorite Gamecocks of the SEC era countdown. After we talked about J.C. Horn, we got into talking about Joe Horn and his dad there who had the Sharpie. And we got
whoever we talk about tomorrow, it will lead to like a player, 10 spots away. It's kind of like a Kevin Bacon game.
Everything ends up at Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, one of those kind of things.
Everything ends up at Joe Horn.
For me, it'll probably end up with somebody like Peyton Manning or John Elway.
I think with you, it'll end up being a Bronco.
Yes. Or maybe I could take
a member of Fish.
Yes, or maybe an Atlanta Brave.
The halftime show with Jay, Terry, and Tommy.
Noon to 3
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game. 107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
And just in one incident right now, this is going to be on Atlas Road and Shop Road. We got a collision there causing some delays. Again, that's Atlas Road and Shop Road.
This is Boomer Science with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by 303. Keep your car looking new longer with 303 premium protectants and cleaners. Kudos to wrestling legend John Cena for fulfilling a dream of a 19-year-old Ukrainian refugee. To motivate Misha Rohusin to escape Mariupol, his mom promised that his idol Cena would ultimately meet him. Saturday, he did just that. I'm Boomer Science.
We have a 12-year-old German Shepherd.
Going through this all morning, just getting a call. It says, you're leaving out Sterling Sharp. No, I'm not. SEC here. All right, let's catch up on the air.
I remember Sophie starting the Dynamite, and she from day one has loved it.
I have no idea who that is.
She is full of life. Dynamite heals Sophie. Dynamite is nutrition.
I just don't know how you can say that when Debo's coming off an all-pro season. It's a hard case to make.
Wait, what? Kinley was better as a pro than
he was an all-pro last year.
Yeah, no, you can't make that case. Unfortunately, with McKinley, you got to remember he got hurt in Denver and just really didn't play all that much, which unfortunately led to what happened with him. But
depression, yeah. We got another call, Bill, of you guys are forgetting Sterling Sharp.
Was it from Simon?
I don't know who it was from. It's like no one forgets Sterling Sharp. He didn't play in the SEC. It's like, oh, I tuned in late. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny McKinley, Larry, I don't think you know Kenny McKinley's NFL career if you think he was better than Debo. Kenny McKinley played in 8 games and had three receptions. No, he had 3. Did Kenny McKinley catch an NFL pass?
Yes. I think you're looking at something different.
Oh, it says kick and punt returns. Yeah. Let's see. Where's his?
No, his stats were pretty decent.
Why is this telling me only his?
Here, I'll give you his stats.
This is the weirdest stats page I've ever seen in my life that doesn't break down, and that's Pro Football Reference. That was the dumbest page I've ever seen. All right, here's his.
Yeah, the Pro Football Reference page is horrible.
Yeah, that made no sense. Like, that was the first thing I looked at, and I was like, I don't.
Dude, Debo still had like 1,000 yards receiving. Debo had 1,400 yards receiving, Larry.
Patrick, I'm not seeing anything where Kenny McKinley called a pass in the NFL.
He had to have.
All I'm seeing is he played 8 games in 2009 as a kick returner. That's even on his Wikipedia page.
Maybe
That's
it's not a
right.
weird.
He was drafted in 2009, and he got put on injured reserve in December.
So it's not a weird Pro Football Reference
page? Pass in the NFL. I don't see it.
All right, so Larry, you win worst take of the day. Sorry. The guy that never caught a pass is better than the guy that was an All-Pro last year with 1,400 yards and 77 catches. We love you, though.
$8:19 on a Thursday morning, June the 9th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette. Jen had to run out to an appointment, so she is out. Just Patrick and I. Coming up in about 20 minutes, Kerry Tharp will join us, Darlington Raceway president. We will get you ready for this coming weekend's race, in which Reggie Anderson continues to hammer us there in Sonoma this coming weekend. So we will catch up with Kerry Tharp coming up in about 20-25 minutes there, doing that. Talking a lot this morning about South Carolina. The number 27 player on our list of top 30 players in the, please remember, the SEC era. A couple of y'all weighed in. Simon on the text line said Sterling Sharp. Nope. Sterling Sharp didn't play. Robert Brooks. Nope. Robert Brooks didn't play. None of those guys. SEC era, 1992 and on. That's kind of where our discussion is. Certainly we could go further back and get into that. But again, the reason we here at 107.5 The Game we're doing this little deal is because this coming August will be 30 years in the SEC for the University of South Carolina. So again, a couple weeks ago, we put out on our webpage a list of about 75 players from the SEC era. And that's where you could go and vote for guys, again, SEC era. So guys like George Rogers, Harold Green, Todd Ellis, Sterling Sharp. You get
Steve the Cadillac Wadiak.
Yes, your new favorite player.
I think it's Tom Moody's favorite player.
Jeff Grant's. They don't qualify for. They did not qualify for this list. They did not qualify for this list. 803-404-6100, though, how you can weigh in a couple of you. So we go into this, and Patrick, because some of you are saying, well, NFL careers were not part of your top 30 South Carolina football players. I think you can make the case, though, that if you want to go down the Deebo Samuel path, you can make the case that he deserves to be the number 3 wide receiver. I would argue here he had 2 injury-plagued seasons.
Mm-hmm.
There was a 2015 season where he had just 12 receptions for 161 yards. He did get off to an incredible start in 2017. He was off to a very hot start in 2017, but he got injured in that Kentucky game and had just 15 receptions for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was the one. He had run the kickback against North Carolina State. He had run the kickback against Missouri. He had some big receptions, and then he breaks his foot or whatever in the Kentucky game and missed the remainder of the season. So Deebo really only playing 2 full seasons. I think another thing that, just as people are talking about J.C. Horn quitting or opting out, Deebo Samuel opted out of the bowl game. A little bit different maybe than Horn, but maybe at the same time, COVID year, coach got fired. Both Horn and Samuel opting out. And again, the number 27 guy on the list, the guy we've been talking about, Brian Edwards, he's the career receptions leader at the University of South Carolina. And he had some incredible catches, some highlight reel catches during his time.
What was he? He was almost the yardage leader too, or touchdown leader. He didn't play in that last Clemson game, right? Well, I'm trying to remember what the deal was.
I think you're right.
I think he was hurt for the Clemson game and maybe the game before. And we were saying he has a chance if he can catch a touchdown in one of these next games or catch a couple touchdowns in one of these games. He would have broken another record. I don't know if anybody can remember that.
I'm going to have the full stats here and everything up in just a second and be able to give you a rundown. Somebody asked for the top three statistical wide receivers of the SEC area. Now, I'll get you that here in just a second. But, number 27, again, Brian Edwards on our list, which has led us to asking this morning about your top three wide receivers of the SEC area. Now, obviously, as we go through, we're going to come across Brian Edwards is not going to be number one. You've got to imagine, I would imagine Alshon and Sidney Rice I would imagine Alshon's going to be in the top 10. I think if I'm guessing, Patrick, and I am guessing right now, I feel like Alshon, Sidney Rice will be 2. I think Deebo's going to make this list. I think he will. And I think McKinley will. That'll be your top 5 wide receivers. Just knowing how the voting's going. I think I'm with you. I don't think Pharaoh Cooper is going to make this list because I think the memory of him and the way the things ended for his career, I think he's going to get lost in there a little bit.
I'm just going to tell you there's more than that.
Really? Yeah. Career receiving leaders by receptions. For those of you wondering, career receiving leaders. This is the University of South Carolina. Some of this list absolutely shocks me as I now look at it. We've been talking about them all morning. We're well aware. Brian Edwards is number 1, 234. Kenny McKinley, we knew that, is number 2 at 207. Okay. Number 3 on the list, Alshon Jeffrey. Not really a surprise there. 183. You want to take a stab at who number 4 is?
Receptions.
Play along in your car. Number 4. And he is in the SEC era, and he's in the last 10 years of the SEC. Or he's played in the last 10 years.
It's not Pharaoh? No, because he only played 2 years. Did Shai quietly have that many?
Shai Smith is number 4 all-time receptions leader at South Carolina with 174 receptions. That one catches me a little off guard. Sterling Sharp is number 5 at 169. Here's a guy that I've kind of been making the case for, but I haven't pounded the drum enough just because played on some questionable teams back from the 90s. Nobody remembers, but he was on our list to vote for. Number 6 in career receptions at the University of South Carolina is Zola Davis, 164. And I know that name is completely foreign to you. Number 21.
I've heard the name. I couldn't tell you if he's tall, short, fast, strong, what kind of receiver he was, who his quarterback was. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, there's the name. Zola's at 6. Robert Brooks is at 7. Those are the 2 guys, Sharp and Brooks, that are outside of the SEC era that certainly would get the most mention. 8, real quick, is Jermell Kelly. Jermell Kelly, a wildly underrated wide receiver. And, of course, he is the person who caught the fade from Eric Kimry. That's one of his claims to fame. Deebo checks in at number 9. Deebo Samuel's number 9 on the career receptions list. 10, Fred Ziegler. Now I'm going way back, 67 to 69 there in the Gamecock playbook. Fred Ziegler way back with 146. I feel like he should get more credit than he does, even though I have no clue who that is, just because if you catch 146 balls during the 1960s, you probably were doing something really well.
Yeah. I tried to filter it by yards per reception, but this is just going to be really annoying to do it because Bob Holminski, you know Bob Holminski? He's the all-time leader for South Carolina in yards per reception.
1 catch, 99 yards.
1 catch, 77 yards.
Attaboy, Bob.
Yeah, Bob
Yeah,
Holminski.
way to go, Bob.
Someone listening to the program remembers the 77-yard touchdown reception from Bob Holminski in 1975.
Okay.
But I'm trying to go by guys that actually like had a lot of receptions. So Troy Williamson of that like kind of top bunch, 91 catches, 1,700 yards, 19 yards of reception. I was trying to see where Debo would pop up in this list because while he didn't have he was 9th all-time receptions. That's a lot. I thought his yards per catch might be pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, just glancing here at the list that we have, no surprise here, Troy Williamson because of the speed. I'm looking at the top 25 receptions leaders, Troy Williamson and Philip Logan. Philip Logan I actually knew from when I was at the University of South Carolina. I had a job in the computer services, and Philip Logan was actually down there, and I hung around him. He's a lot older than me, but I knew how to sneak out of work and hop in the car with him, and he'd take me down to the stadium, and we would hang out. Philip Logan, just looking at it, 19.6 yards per reception, 74 to 77. And then you got Troy Williamson at 19.3 yards per reception, 91 catches for 1,754 yards. If you go to the top there, I'm a little surprised by this. Alshon Jeffrey, you probably always thought more of a maybe more people thought of him big-bodied possession receiver, 16.6 yards per catch. And that's given that he's the third all-time receptions leader at South Carolina. That's a pretty strong number there to have a 16.6 yards per reception. Debo Samuel, Patrick, you mentioned it. He averaged 14, just a couple people in front of him, Jamel Kelly, Robert Brooks, Zola Davis, and Sterling Sharp with 14 yards per reception on the average. Pharaoh Cooper and Sidney Rice both averaging 15.7. So just some numbers to throw at you this morning as you can carry this debate on through the rest of the day. Certainly we'll continue talking about it. Brian Edwards, our number 27 player on the countdown of top 30 Gamecocks in the SEC era. A couple of you weighing in on the text line. Michael saying Zola had one good year his freshman year. Well, he still got in there 6th in terms of all-time receptions. Matt A. Sanders, we didn't mention him. While he was electric on special teams, I don't think he had a drop his senior year. Another anonymous texter also weighing in with Ace Sanders as well. So a couple of you throwing out Ace Sanders, and certainly he was very good. But Ace actually 20th all-time in receptions. Ace Sanders, 99 receptions. If Ace Sanders sticks around for his senior year, maybe we think of him a little bit differently. Remember, he bolted, though, after the Outback win against Michigan. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Crowder, who we all know affectionately as the Mortgage Guru. Jacob's in his second decade advertising here on 107.5 The Game. He's helped hundreds of 107.5 listeners. It's time he helps you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to help the 107.5 faithful. With the new year, people are focusing on housing needs. If you are looking to purchase a new home, I would love to help you. Call me, 803-719-1005, or you can email me at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com.
With a fresh start in the new year, I bet people are looking to save money right now.
You are right. Rates are still very low, and people are lowering their rates and consolidating debts. Rates are so low on 15-year mortgages that the 15-year loans have become very popular. Call me today and let's discuss your refinance options. 803-719-1005 or jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com. My NMLS number is 198432. First Palmetto Bank is an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC.
Jacob, give people that number one more time.
803-719-1005 or email jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Reynolds. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, I go to work getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
Hey, it's Terry Ford from 107.5 The Game, hanging out with our buddy Adam Vance from Sound and Images. Adam, everybody knows about the events that you folks do over at SNI, but there's a lot more to Sound and Images. Please explain.
We have really upped our commercial AV installation division. You name it, any kind of commercial audiovisual application that you can think of, we are pretty much involved with.
Thanks a lot, Adam. Hey, if you want to hit up Adam Vance over at Sound and Images, just call 803-791-3925 or go to soundandimages.net.
Hon, look, it's heartburn.
He's going to try and ruin our vacation.
Don't worry. I packed Prilosec OTC. One pill in the morning prevents excess acid production that can cause frequent heartburn.
Nice. Aloha, heartburn.
Block heartburn from your summer bucket list with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Don't wait until you have heartburn to start Prilosec OTC. Kick your summer off right and look for Prilosec OTC at Walmart or Walmart.com.
If you have a small business, Staples has your sign.
Banners for my bakery?
Staples has your sign.
Oh, posters for my new pet store.
Floor decals for a pharmacy. Every day, Staples associates help every kind of small business create bold signs to make big impressions. And now get $10 off custom signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. This is your sign, so print it big at Staples. N72. Visit staplesconnect.com/thisisyoursign for details.
Attention, anyone shopping for a new Jeep, turn up your radio now. Announcing the special order $1 sales event at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone. Here's how it works. Visit Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone and order the exact Jeep you want. Put just $1 down. Plus, we'll give you a $1,000 special order discount. No limitations, no exclusions. Just order any Jeep model, any Jeep trim level, and it's yours for just $1 down and $1,000 off MSRP. Best of all, your price is locked in and you're protected against a Jeep price increase. Other Jeep dealers are charging tens of thousands of dollars over MSRP. But right now, you can order the exact Jeep you want for just $1 down and $1,000 below MSRP.
Gotta go to
$1 down, $1,000 below MSRP Jeep sales event at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone. I-126 Zoo exit in Columbia. Call 779-73.
All right, we're gonna play the. I think Terry's messing with the computer right now. We're gonna play the Brian Edwards thing right here.
And everything is professionally installed by their dedicated and experienced employees, not subcontractors. Atlantic Windows and Doors. Visit them online at awdsc.com.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. To celebrate Carolina's 30th anniversary in the SEC, it's 107.5 The Game's
30 for 30.
The 30 best Gamecocks football players over the last 30 years.
Number 27, wide receiver, Brian Edwards.
And he'll load up. And down inside the 30, streaking to the end zone is Brian Edwards. 75 yards.
Brian Edwards hails from Conway, South Carolina. Despite a season-ending knee injury in October of his senior year, Edwards was a top 300 national recruit. Edwards was a starter all 4 years at USC, playing in 48 games overall. Edwards left Columbia the Gamecocks' all-time leader in receptions with 234 and receiving yards with 3,045.
Back to Edwards. Breaks a tackle. Edwards turns upfield and scores. And with that touchdown reception of 23 yards, Brian Edwards has become the all-time leader in receiving yards at South Carolina.
It's a great feeling, anytime you can beat a record that was put there by guys like Shannon Sharp and Alshon Jeffrey. I still want to win, still want to break the rest of the record.
Brian is also top 5 all-time in both categories in SEC history. Edwards was picked in the 3rd round by the Las Vegas Raiders in the 2020 NFL Draft and traded by the Raiders in May to the Atlanta Falcons.
Is that caught? It is! Unbelievable catch by Brian Edwards. A jaw-dropping one-hander from Brian Edwards.
Number 27, wide receiver, Brian Edwards. It's 107.5 The Game's 30 for 30.
The top 30 Gamecocks football players from Carolina's 30 years in the SEC. Keep listening as we count them down from 30 to 1.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5
The Game.
Is that 4-8 season so bad that we glossed over that he said Shannon Sharp?
We had to have talked about that at the time. But I didn't remember that.
Didn't either. Both of us looked at each other when we heard that clip again and went, what? Was that season so bad that we just glossed over that comment in the post game when he passed?
If we must have talked about it, and did we just decide at the time it was no big deal? Because I've that took me by surprise. I did not remember that at all.
Oh, both of us looked at each other like, wait, what did you say?
Huh? And Shannon Sharp's more famous now.
He went on to a longer career.
He's got a media career too.
Sterling had a media career. What is Sterling not on NFL Network anyway? He was. Wasn't he on
I don't
NFL
know.
Network?
I have no recollection of Sterling doing media, but Shannon hosts a show with Max or what's his name? Skip Bayless. So
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right.
yeah, we got a text too saying, "Did he say Shannon Sharp?" Yeah, he sure did.
Did none of us catch
It's the
that?
first time I've heard that.
Were we so upset at the 4-8 season that we just were like, whatever, it's all gone. It's all gone wrong. Who cares?
I think I have the specific clip again. I don't know. Maybe we can.
It was put there by guys like Shannon Sharp and Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, I was definitely a
I
Shannon.
still want to win, still want to break the rest of those records.
He left off Kenny McKinley as well. McKinley was ahead of Alshon when he passed him, but
Do you think he knew that it was Sterling and it was just a slip of the tongue?
Oh yeah. I don't know if he had to know. He had to know. He just like you said, for Brian Edwards, Shannon Sharp is the name. There's it's strange to say Sterling Sharp. I had a number 2, a black number 2 Gamecock football. The kids these days, I don't know what number. I think NIL. I don't know what jersey is available down there at the bookstore now. I have no clue. I've been on campus. I should probably go down there this morning and look. I don't know if the new jerseys are coming out now, but do we know it? Does anybody 803-404-6100? What number is down there? Like I would imagine this is can't Under Armour and Spencer Rattler do a deal for a number 7 Rattler jersey? Like on the back it says Rattler?
I don't know.
Isn't that what we've discussed as part of the big name, image, likeness deal that maybe they can't do it, sell their jersey? You would think that would be all part of it. I just say that because I had a number 2 jersey back in the day, the Sterling Sharp jersey, and then obviously he was number 84 with Green Bay. But what he went on to now is trying to look and see if he's still doing, if Sterling's still doing. He as a former, I'm looking at his Wikipedia page because that's where we all go to for information. American football wide receiver and analyst for the NFL Network. I'm not sure if he's still an analyst or not. I know he's really good at golf. That much we know. 803-404-6100 coming up in about 5 minutes. We're going to catch up with Kerry Tharp of Darlington Raceway, talk about this coming weekend's race. Also get his thoughts on the SEC and everything that we are kind of talking about this morning. But Patrick, to kind of wrap up the Brian Edwards conversation, we'll move on to number 26. Again, interesting that every time, and I don't know how many more players, Patrick, we will have. I know you've got the list, and don't spoil it, but I feel like every time we get to a player from the Will Muschamp era, part of it's going to be, but he played for Will Muschamp, which is right now just like I think people are blocking out that era of college football, and they're almost coming. It's like coming back to the game now. Like, oh, South Carolina's got a football team. I forgot about this. This used to be fun. Hey, everybody remember Steve Spurrier and all the fun we had? We just blacked out over the last 7 years, and now it's back. And, this is a lot of fun. We should do this more often.
Wasn't Brian Edwards also, it was him and Will Muschamp were the ones that before the season
that
were
was
like,
bad.
buy a ticket?
I was at that press conference, and there was
Buy
a cockiness about it before the North Carolina game. And
we were so sure. The line moved before that game, too. We thought they were going to destroy them. We were so confident.
Oh yeah, you and I were like, what? We came in on that Wednesday morning after the press conference. You're like, did you hear those guys yesterday? They know something we don't.
Yeah.
That offense is going to rip everybody up. There's no way they're going to be bad this year.
Freshman quarterback.
Yeah,
it's over.
Rough. But I do.
Your coach. What?
I feel like every time we mention a player that's going to be associated with DJ Wonnum, I don't know if Wonnum's going to make this list or not. DJ Wonnum's a really good player. And I just, people are going to block him out from memory. He could go on to have this great NFL career with the Vikings, and he's off to a pretty good start. And people are just going to block that era of South Carolina football out. Jake Bentley's going to always be unfortunately for Bentley, he's always going to be some bum that couldn't get it done. And Bentley was a fine quarterback, was a really good quarterback. There's going to be a lot of things about that specific time frame for South Carolina football that people are just going to block out. And Brian Edwards, I hope, is not one of those guys, because if you go back and you look at what he did, and not just what he did statistically, but some of the incredible catches he had, he certainly is one of the all-time Gamecock greats. Number 27 on our list, Brian Edwards. Tomorrow will be number 26, but throughout the day you can talk about him. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on the text line or not. You're listening to Bill Gunner and Patrick Pratt. It's the early game. Kerry Tharp joins us next. Darlington Raceway president here on 107.5 The Game.
The Extra Point.
With Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by BioNTech,
QC,
Traffic, and weather. But there's something else you should hear. Consider getting a COVID-19 booster, as recommended by the CDC. Sponsored by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Been out kicking the ball around. Well, actually, Patrick and I were both out there kicking the ball around with the little campers at the Tony Annan Gamecock soccer camp yesterday. And that might be something that you've been wanting to do. Get out and enjoy summertime. Hop in the lake, play a little basketball, maybe kick the soccer ball around. Whatever it is you may want to do, you need to be in good shape. And by that, I mean, you don't need to be suffering from any issues with your ankles, with your knees, with your hips, with your back. If you've had problems with your joints, you need to go and call QC Kinetics today. Get them on the phone and let them fix your problems with a free in-office consultation. So don't wait any longer. Call QC Kinetics today, 803-281-6860. You can get QC Kinetics in-office non-surgical treatments right now to repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints, giving you real, lasting relief from pain. So don't wait any longer. Stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics today to learn more about their regenerative medicine. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. Right now is the time for you to call QC Kinetics to get that free in-office consultation. So don't wait a day longer. 803-281-6860. That's QC Kinetics.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right, we'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
803-630-5929 for more details. At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Reynolds. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, I go to work getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
It's summertime at Galliana Kia on Greystone. And summertime is the best time to get out of your old car and upgrade to a cool new Kia. Featuring brand new Kias below MSRP. Like a 2022 Kia Rio LX, just $16,990. All new 2023 Galliana Kia Sportage LX, now in stock. Lease for just $259 per month. Plus, we'll give you exactly what your trade is worth, down to the penny. High mileage, cosmetic issues, unreliable, all trade-ins are welcome. So if you want to get out of your old car and upgrade to a cool new Kia, don't miss the summertime sales event.
You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia.
New Kias for sale below MSRP. Only at Galliana Kia on Greystone. I-126 Zoo Exit in Columbia. Call 779-7300 or KiaColumbia.com. Rio stock number 2K1124. Sportage stock number 3K3011. 36 month lease, $39.99 to assigning plus tax tag includes $225 closing fee. No security deposit subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game.
With Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret, and Jen Jensen.
On your home of the Gamecocks. The early game.
107.5 The Game.
Final segment, 8:46 here on a Thursday morning. Pearson Fowler out there in the bullpen warming up, getting ready to come in from 9 to 12. Jay, Tommy, and Terry all from 12 to 3. And Heath Klein, the very serious Heath Klein, from 3 to 6 this afternoon. Again, all day long talking about the number 27 player on our top 30 countdown of SEC players at the University of South Carolina. Brian Edwards will be the topic of discussion today. Plenty of audio on him as he has now made his way over to the Atlanta Falcons from the Las Vegas Raiders. Up now, our good buddy, Kerry Tharp. Our good buddy and currently our guy in last place of our picks contest, but we won't hold that against you.
Well, that makes me even a better buddy. When I'm in last place, you guys kick me around like a can, you know.
If it wasn't for the great information you provided each and every week, it's your information that sets us up. Real quick on your on this, we're doing this top 30 players of the SEC era, and Kerry, being a sports information director, you probably were able to keep many years of your life intact by not having to be the guy in charge of keeping up with Steven Garcia when he met with the media, but. Some of the players, some of the personalities you remember most from your time as sports information director as South Carolina entered the SEC there in the 90s?
Well, certainly the one that comes to mind first and foremost for South Carolina's standpoint, Steve Taneyhill. You know, the brash quarterback from Altoona, Pennsylvania. I know we had started the season 0-5 that year and even had kind of a walkout at practice one day. I was out at practice with Sparky Woods, and I said, "Coach, where's all the players at?" He said, "Well, I think some of them walked out." I said, "Well, you know, that's not good." And then we had an open date, kind of got the things squared away, and then he put Taneyhill in the starting lineup, and then we reeled off like 5 out of 6 wins, beat Mississippi State, beat Tennessee. They were both top 25 teams. Almost beat Florida on the road, and then went up to Clemson and whipped them. So that's probably the one that stands out for me, at least early on and when we got into the league. And but Steve Taneyhill, quarterback, was certainly made a big splash there for the Gamecocks.
Did you? I got to know Steve Fink real well, and you could tell he would stand close to Steven Garcia to make sure nothing crazy happened. Back then, a little bit different, though. You didn't have Twitter. You didn't have Facebook. You didn't have the camera. You had the television cameras, but not quite the internet cameras like you do now. What was it like going into certain press conferences and situations? Because I don't know if it was a little bit more of a free-speaking college time, or, you know, if you had to meet with, say, a Steve or another player prior to say, "Hey, look, you might get these questions. Let's try not to answer them that way."
Yeah. Well, I always tried to make sure that the athletes knew that, you're going to be asked these questions, and, you know, but you're in charge of the answer. You know, and a reporter can ask a question a certain way, but you can give your answer the way that you want to give it. And I always just told the athletes to remember, you're not only representing yourself, you're representing your family, you represent the university, the athletics program. So, you know, I would always say, don't say something that you would not want to see in print. I said, because when you see it in print, it's pretty much over with. So I always had a good relationship with the student athletes. In fact, that was probably one of my most favorite components of my job working at Carolina over the 20 years. Was just, you know, getting to know the student athletes. Many of them have become good friends of mine over the years. Todd Ellis, Brad Edwards, Sterling Sharp, you know, Harold Green, to name a few. And certainly, I would provide them some counsel. I would never really tell them what to say, but I would maybe just tell them, "Hey, you're going to be asked these questions, and remember, when a reporter's around, there's always a microphone on, so just be smart about how you handle things."
He's Kerry Tharp joining us as he does each and every week, Darlington Raceway president. And I tell you what, it seems like just last week you were entertaining Patrick in the infield there in Darlington. And it's, I guess we're now, inside of, I guess, about 12. I did the numbers last week, and I think we're now 10 Sundays away, Kerry. I believe that's right. I think last week was 11. I could be wrong. We're 10 Sundays away from Labor Day, if I'm counting correctly, as I did last weekend. So preparation now starting to pick back up for the Labor Day event.
Oh, there's no question. In fact, we spent a couple of weeks kind of closing out our Mother's Day event, but we've been all systems go for the Labor Day event for the last, really for almost the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so you're exactly right, Bill. It's going to get here before we know it. I think we're around 80 some days before our event, and it's the, that Cookout Southern 500 will be the leadoff race for the playoffs. I know we'll talk about each and every week about who's going to win and so forth, but to qualify for the playoffs, get a win, and you're going to be in the field of 16 at Darlington come Labor Day weekend. So, yeah, all systems are go here. We're working, extremely hard to get the place looking good again, selling as many tickets as we can, and just getting everything ready for our big weekend in September.
We kind of hit the hot part of the summer. You just mentioned the playoffs right now. Chase Elliott leading the 2022 standings, 507 points. He's got the 1 win, 3 top 5s. Kyle Busch right there with him. He's not very far behind. As a matter of fact, at 498 points, 1 win, 6 top 5s. Might be a guy that I need to write down for this weekend. Ross Chastain at 490, Ryan Blaney at 479, and Martin Truex Jr. at 470. As you see us kind of heading into the summer months, and you said making that push for the playoffs, give me 2 or 3 of the drivers that you think have the best chance to catch Elliott and Busch.
Well, I think certainly even Joey Logano, he's outside the top 5. I think he's 6th.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got 2 wins, and he's pretty hot here lately. Ever since he won at Darlington back in May, he got another win last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway. I think he's on a tear right now. So I would think Joey Logano would certainly be one to get up there and challenge for the points. And then, Ryan Blaney, I know he's up in the top 3 or 4 in points. It doesn't have a win yet, but I think once he gets that first victory, he's going to be a guy that can get up there closely too. And I don't think you can ever, not consider somebody like Martin Truex Jr. I know he doesn't have a win yet either. But I think he certainly is going to come up on some tracks that he's going to be pretty good at here over the next few weeks.
Well, one of those will be this weekend. They head out to Sonoma for the what I just looked at it. I think it's the Save Mart 300, I believe. I just had it in front of me and clicked off to do a little bit of studying. Yeah, the Save Mart 350 this weekend in Sonoma. Last weekend, you had Alex Bowman, and you got a couple points. You finished 3rd. I finished 4th in our pick. So you're up first this morning. Who are you going with in Sonoma?
Well, I just mentioned him a second ago. It's Martin Truex Jr. He's done very well out at Sonoma. I think he's got 3 wins out there. I know he doesn't have a win yet this year. He was in the news a little bit this week talking about maybe even considering retirement sometime soon. But I go with Martin Truex Jr. to win Sunday at Sonoma.
Patrick, you're in charge of Jen's pick. What do we got?
Well, this guy has 3 straight finishes, 21st or worst, after 5 top 10s in a row. But he finished second at Sonoma last year, and he's got 3 finishes of 8th or better in his past 4 races at Sonoma. Jen is going for Chase Elliott to break out of his slump this week.
That is, yeah, I'd be happy with that because I've had Chase Elliott. I've taken him back-to-back weeks, and he's produced me 1 point each week. He finished.
Yeah, but he can't do that forever. At some point, you got to
it is my luck if I've taken him back-to-back weeks and he's not been good, and then all of a sudden he wins the race this week. I just can't put it together this year so far, Carrie. Everything is just not clicking right now. Reggie's got 61 points. I got 46. Jen's at 42. You're at 39. It's just not clicking. But I'm going to hope Kyle Larson is my guy to get me back on track this weekend. And I'm sure
that was Jen's second choice that she sent.
Good. All right. I feel good about that then.
Yeah, Kyle won last year's race, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a pretty good pick, Bill.
I'm going to take him. Carrie, we know you got plenty you got to do. Father's Day weekend is next weekend. And then, we're like you said, we're not far away from Labor Day weekend when the lights come on and the infield lights up and the race gets going.
That's right. I look forward to it. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Always glad to have you, buddy. Have a great weekend. Look forward to catching up next week.
Thank you.
Carrie Tharp, our Darlington Raceway president, basically the president of this program as well. We're all just here to enjoy him and everything he provides. Patrick, good job. We will come back and do a Friday show. Find something entertaining to talk about. Last week it was top 80s movies you had to see. I'm sure we can find something entertaining tomorrow.
Maybe we need to spin the wheel at some point.
We'll spin the wheel. Fingernails, wheel spinning, and college football talk. All tomorrow morning, the early game.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
All right. I got to get out of the way for Pearson. Everybody, have a great day. We'll see you on Friday.